we're live. We're live now, so I can't. Uh, yeah.
Are you there, Adam? It's me, Margaret.
There it is. So no matter what, we at least have the goat.
That's right. That's right. Well, Adam is trying out some new equipment today. Looks like he's battling it a little bit, trying to get things where he wants it. But as you may have heard, if you were part of the Discord, Adam has a new laptop that he's trying out. Can you hear us, Adam? Dan, you got it. New tech bugs.
I keep losing my connection, though, so I'm probably going to have to go back to my phone.
I was going to say, I sense a shift to the phone here coming tonight. All right. Well, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday night, everybody.
Cheers that way.
I'll get us kicked off here while Adam makes a quick changeover. So, as always, 8 p.m. Central, here we are live with Adam, Charlie, and the Stewmeister. So I'll save Adam his greeting when he gets here. I don't want to steal his thunder, but welcome everybody. We've got kind of an open agenda again here tonight. Adam and I haven't talked about any topics tonight, so I think we're going to let her fly. And you know what happens when we do that? What are the three things we always talk about here? News, knowledge, and a lot of nonsense. And when we don't have an agenda, I sense a lot of times we let that nonsense fly a lot. So that's probably what we're going to be doing. We'll talk a little bit about the GOAT Card Show coming up here in just a couple weeks, June 8th here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'll talk about some of the things going on in the hobby, especially from a low-end reseller point of view. I see Adam just dropped. He is in the process of switching over to his phone, and we'll get the full show going here. Look at that. There he is popping back in.
Ta-da!
Yeah. Now we just got to figure out on your other mic. There you go. It dropped.
Yeah, I'm all done. I'm all set now.
All right. Well,
back
welcome, Adam. Why don't you kick us off proper?
Yo, everybody. How are y'all? Yeah, got a brand new laptop, which apparently is a big deal because you guys all had to give me crap about it, but
me too.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I still don't have a hardwire down here. I'm in the basement, which is always the worst thing as it is. I do have you can probably see my Wi-Fi pod right up there in the back in the corner on the top of the shelf. See that?
I see
that up there? Little blue light on the top.
Oh, sure. I see it there. Yeah.
Anyway, so I have, direct mesh access right into my office. So I'm not quite sure why I have those issues, and it's only when I stream. It's not, I have absolutely zero internet issues. I watch, streaming on TV all the time, and for whatever reason, StreamYard, I guess, takes more power. More power.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're stuck with the phone again. That's okay. Phone works really well, so good.
It does.
It's all good to go.
Except it goes dead on you before the end of the show, typically.
I know, and actually, it's going to get worse. It's going to be worse tonight because I think I'm at like 30% because I wasn't, really focused on it today because I thought I was going to use my laptop. So
sure,
whatever. We'll do what we can do. I'll probably just have to eventually ditch the good mic and go back to the regular mic because my mic, my desk mic is USB. So I have to USB-C into my phone. Well, as soon as I do that, I can't charge it. So.
Oh yeah.
So I have to unplug this mic, go back to the phone mic, which isn't the end of the world, and then plug in for power. So, but I'll
Okay.
hold on as long as I can.
All right.
But anyway, we had a couple things we kind of wanted to cover tonight. Uh, I think the biggest thing for me was just kind of watching current social media in cards, and a lot of talk about um, collectors versus rippers versus flippers versus the hobby versus a business, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I feel that's pretty pertinent to us, most of our audience, and ourselves included. And I think the 99% answer that comes out of that for most people is you're both.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to be in the hobby if you don't have any interest in it. That seems kind of, I don't know. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense in my mind. Let's see if I can prop this up a little bit.
Yeah, you
But
don't find many salesmen that hate what they're selling.
yeah, I mean, yeah, because cards takes a lot of like research and time, and to get it to a point where you can literally make it something you can live on. So why would you go that far if you didn't have any interest in it? So you're probably going to have. I think most of us go, well, I bought this lot and I got this one for my PC and I got these 10 to sell, and I got, I think that's more typical than not. So whenever I see this, oh, it's the hobbies for collecting, it's not for flipping. Oh, the hobby, it's a hobby, but the secondary market is what keeps it alive, and blah blah blah. I think it's neither, or all, however you wanna approach that
Yeah.
answer, because I just don't see it surviving without both pieces, and really, our businesses primarily depend on collectors, because you're not going to get a lot of investors and flippers buying $3 1982 tops base cards, or
Right. Right.
um so I don't know. I it gets all. I think you got to have drama, right? That's what feeds the egos and the consumption and all that. But I just don't think that. I think the argument is just completely invalid, because I think it's every part of that is important. Just like people who like to open packs don't like rippers, but if you don't have rippers, you don't have secondary market values for cards. Which, if you're going to rip packs yourself, you want to sell the cards and have as good a market as you know what I mean. I kind of feel like you need all of it. We depend a lot on rippers. If I go to a show and I don't see a bunch of boxes of singles, I'm probably not coming home with anything to make any money on. And I think a lot of the cards that we buy are the cards that they're not looking to make the profit on. They just want them gone, and a little bit of money back on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ripper makes their money, or their breaker, whatever you want to call them, makes their money on, oh, I pulled this downtown and this, and okay, great, sell that for $2,000 and then sell me all your okay singles for $1 a piece.
Yep.
It kind of works out for everyone. So I don't think hobbyist versus collector versus flipper versus business owner. I don't think any of those are mutually exclusive. I think that they all sort of are a part of it.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you on that. I here here's a good way to look at this too. Let me put something on the screen here that I think sums it up. Symbiotic relationship.
Hey, that's it right there.
That's what we are all about, right? Man, I want to zoom control plus plus plus. Speaking of tech stuff, hey, look at
Yeah.
that.
Did it actually work?
Yeah, it does. So we are all connected in some way. You bring up a great example. Like, if there aren't if there aren't breakers out there busting open these boxes of product, I don't find my low end stuff out there, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't sell the low end stuff, there are some collectors that aren't able to enjoy the hobby, right? Like
Yep.
everything goes around in a circle, and there's a place for all of us in this.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, obviously, based on my prior statement. So, yeah, I think before everybody gets all up in arms and oh, this person, doesn't want flippers, and oh, this person doesn't like collectors, but I think we all just have to take a step back and go, it's kind of all of us, you know,
Yep, for
because
sure.
I, I don't I don't really know anybody I think that's in cards literally strictly for the money. Almost everybody's like, oh yeah, I got some of those, but they're in my PC or that's what I collect.
Yeah.
Even like the hardcore dealers who are doing it every 2 shows a weekend kind of thing. They've still got your odds are starting early. They still got something that they're hanging on to.
Right.
That they enjoy themselves and what keeps them going. Um, keep going to shows and keep doing buying and selling and all that kind of thing. It's too much work, and it's too much time that's required to know things and research cards and keep a pulse on the hobby, and it's there's too much of that in order for you to not enjoy it and not want to
Right.
be a part of it
We
because
talk
it's
about it being a grind. Nobody does a grind if they don't enjoy some of it.
mhm. Yeah, completely agree. So I think we have kind of an equal take on that whole thing, and we'll just
For
leave it at
sure.
that.
For sure. Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of one of the things I was thinking about today. I sent over to you, and that was about cards as investments. And
Hmm.
some may say, well, yeah, I'm a low end card seller. I don't really invest. But I look around and I've got thousands of dollars of low end product here. That was an investment I made to
Yeah,
turn that couple of $1,000s into tens of $1,000s, right? So even
yep.
on a small scale, you're still investing in a product, right?
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that towards the end of the year too, when we were doing taxes and stuff, and you're like, well, I only made this much, and I said, yeah, but look at your eBay account. And how much is your inventory worth?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you increased your value in assets. That's not a
yep,
bad thing. Yeah, yeah, you can't like take that to the bar down the street and trade it for a drink,
yep,
um, but hopefully with you know running your business correctly, you'll be able to turn those assets into
yeah.
cash.
And that relates us to the high end flipper who's hunting that PSA 10 that they can flip for a couple $1,000s. They're just investing more up front, but
Right.
we're kind of doing the same thing, right? So again, we're all related, we're all working together, we all have a niche that we're falling into.
Yeah, there's many different places to land in the hobby. I always said that to me the my favorite part of this hobby and why you get such a range of people in it is you can get cards for a penny and you can get cards for $20 million.
Yeah,
So wherever you are, you can play. And you can take those penny cards and turn them into 10-cent cards and then turn them into $3 cards and then turn them in um so you can spend a lot of time and effort, you know, kind of climbing your way up on those assets too,
yep, mm-hmm.
trading up and such. That's kind of something that I'm definitely going to be doing more of this year. I've already kind of started doing it as I've bought new inventory. I'm going to try to stay more out of the 10-cent, 25-cent boxes. There's a few dealers where I know they're 10-cent boxes. I can turn really good stuff really fast for good money and get a good
Yeah,
deal on the buy that I'm definitely going to still go to in that. But I really want to stick more to like $1 boxes and $3 boxes and that kind of thing.
So you're not going to raid my boxes this weekend and pick all the good stuff out before the show even opens?
Yes, I am. Because okay, ultimately, you also have to look at what your risk or your cost or your basis is, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm looking through, if I know this seller has good dime stuff, if I buy a few hundred cards, end up getting them for 6 cents a piece, whatever it is. Uh, if it's a $30 investment, that's less than a blaster buys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bought a blaster of Phoenix today, and it was $35 for a blaster.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And I was like, what? No, I have never ripped Phoenix in my entire life, and I've always really enjoyed the product. So I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try a box. I haven't bought a box in a while. Huh?
Then you should have got the Mega.
They didn't have any. Otherwise, I
Really?
probably would have. No, they were all gone.
Ah.
There were like 2 Phoenix blasters, and that was it. I got a Drake May rookie. I got a purple laser Patrick Mahomes. A Brock Bowers rookie. I mean, it's some okay stuff, but definitely not $35 worth.
Sure.
It'd
Yeah.
be pretty tough to scrape that out. And then I was looking at like total card count because to some degree that matters. In a more premium, desirable Chrome product, you can squeeze a little bit more money out of it, but it's 24 cards. 24 cards for $35. So you're paying like $1.60
Yep.
per card. It's
And
kind of crazy.
I don't think they were 35 last year, were they?
I don't think so either. I think they were 30 or 32
Yeah, I think they were
maybe. I don't know.
29.99 typically at like a
I don't
Target.
know. But I mean, we can go back into this too, tariffs and just an excuse to raise prices and blah blah
The
blah
T
and inflation
word.
and all that.
The T
But
word.
I had to pick up milk today, and we're lactose intolerant in my house, as you're familiar with that, Charlie.
Yeah.
So I buy this milk called Fairlife, which has no lactose in it, and it's my wife and my daughter, and they both love it, so that's what we buy. And I can remember when we switched to that milk. It was probably I don't know, it's probably a good 3 or 4 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the first one I bought because dollars stick in my head, right? I can't remember crap, but I can remember what I paid for milk like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So this was like right after the pandemic, we switched to that. And that was when we found out Luna was lactose intolerant too. So we're like, okay, we can't just deal with milk in the house now. We got to get a milk that's going to work. Anyway, so I remember the first one I bought was $3.29. Okay. So you expect it to go up some over time. Today was the most I'd ever paid for it. It was $5.29. It's
Wow.
it's not even a gallon. It's I don't know, what do you call that? Where it's the taller jug? Is that a
A
two
quart?
quarts or something?
Half gallon? It's a half gallon, right?
Half gallon? Sure, that could
Yeah.
be it.
Yeah.
So of course she likes chocolate milk, so I had to get a chocolate and I got a regular. So I paid $11 for milk for 1 gallon. Isn't that insanity?
Yeah.
So yeah, pricing is going to be, I don't know, it's weird. Things are going to get really weird, I think. But um, I think to that degree, I think it could actually benefit what we do because I don't think anybody's going to want to get out of cards because it's a hobby and people will enjoy it and you need that escape in life and blah blah blah. But I think maybe instead of buying like $40 and $50 cards, they might be buying $5 and $10 cards because they need $11 for milk.
Yeah.
Um, the best way to bring down prices is to not buy stuff.
That is
um,
a good point.
when you get to the retail experience, especially. But do I think like boxes are just going to sit there and not? No, I don't think that either. I think the boxes are going to be bought, stuff's going to be ripped, breakers are still going to be busy. I just think some of the collector side of it, not the flipper side, because as long as there's money in it, they'll buy whatever. But I think some of the collector side is going to have to come down a little bit on price just because there's going to be bigger spending in some other areas.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, Eggs were down. It was $3.50 for eggs. It's the lowest
Oh,
I've
there
seen
you go.
that in a while. Gas is okay right now, so I guess it kind of balances out at least for now. We'll see how that goes long term. But it was like $35 for a blaster. It's like, and I had to scan the box because, of course, they never label anything correctly on any shelf ever in stores anymore. That's just a complete lost art. So I grabbed the box. I went to one of the scanners and I scanned it, and it was like $35. Crazy.
Wow.
$35.99, I think it was. $35.99. So it was actually $36. So yeah. 6 packs with 4 cards. You get 24 cards. That's it.
Yeah.
It's also a Panini product, which I think Panini stuff is extremely overpriced for the quality and the content. But for now, they have the license, and they're the ones putting out the majority of the products. So,
Hey man,
um,
chromium's not cheap.
but you can get it. But I can get a blaster box of Topps Chrome football for 25.
Because you don't have to pay the license.
Doesn't matter. It's still, but you can get that in baseball, and that is the license. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of excuse right now to just raise prices. There's the whole thing with Walmart right now. They're blaming prices on tariffs, and then it's like, well, is all this stuff really tariffed? If
Right.
it was made in Wisconsin, why does it have a tariff price increase on it? So I feel like anytime it was just like the pandemic, oh, we're short on everything, so we got to double the price
Mm-hmm.
of it, of all of it. Nah, you don't really have to. That's not true. Um, the corporate, oh, record profits. Well, you just told me that you don't know, you're not making enough money. Like, come on. This
Yep.
is all public information. If people are believing like what these companies and politicians and all this stuff are saying, like you need to do some of your own work because it's all right there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was. I know when I buy a box of cards, I'm going to be spending more than the cards I get out of it. I understand that business model on their side, but I was like, like more than $1 per card was just mind blowing to me.
Yeah. I mean, typically when I buy a box of retail cards, blasters in particular, to some extent, like megas too. Definitely not when it gets to a hobby, but when it's the smaller retail packs, my goal is usually, can I find one card that covers the cost of the box, and then I can
Right.
profit from the rest, the meager
Right.
profits from the rest, right?
Yeah.
So as they raise that price, that gets a little tougher to do.
You get squeezed out pretty quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you get lucky, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
especially in a blaster, you're not really going to get numbered cards. You're going to get the 3 exclusive parallel cards or whatever that you can squeeze a couple bucks out of, but
Right.
I mean, I might get $5 or $6 for the Drake May. I might get $10 for the Mahomes,
Yeah.
um, because it's a laser parallel, but it's also the purple. Because of course they got to have 75,000 combinations of parallels.
Yeah.
Um, Bauer's a couple of bucks, so I might get $20 out of it. I mean, that's less than half. On a blaster. And then if you take that out to bigger numbers, like you're buying a hobby box for $700,
Right.
now you're looking at what, $250 out of a $700 box. Like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll get some bigger hits out of the bigger boxes. You should get some numbered cards and an auto and stuff like that. But good gosh, I do much better on the Skybox metal boxes when those come out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Most of the tops in the Bowman products I do better on, um, than how I did with the Phoenix box. And trying to think, what was the other one? Oh, was that 5 star, or what was the box we bought where we actually got the set in it, and they have like the little mini cards? They're kind of like
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of like drawings or paintings of athletes and stuff. They have different athletes, and they have a mini version of each one. I'm trying to think of what it is.
Yeah.
I said
Sport Kings.
5-star.
Sport Kings.
Sport Kings.
Yes.
That was probably one of my best return boxes I've opened in forever. And it was the
Yeah.
dumbest little box, you
I'm
know?
always surprised, like a while will go by and then, oh, there's another one that,
Yeah.
I never would have thought would have
I
went.
mean, I sold a couple of the boxer cards out of there and I had a dog trainer card. I got like the mini parallel one of that, and I got like $7 or something for that. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think I paid, what did we pay? Like $16 or $18 for the whole little
Yeah.
set.
They were
And you
definitely
got one
lower price.
memorabilia card. You got a game use memorabilia card.
Yep.
And I think I had like Al Kaline or some kind of baseball Hall of Famer I pulled. And I think I got like $10 just for the mem card.
Oh, there it is.
Um,
Here's one I just sold the other day. Well, I say the other day. It was April. But just random stuff that you sell sometimes and you're like, you're wondering, like, is this really gonna go? And then something like this goes out the door and you're like, oh heck yeah.
yeah, rock climbers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I tend to keep kind of bouncing back to like the weird and goofy stuff. Like we were talking about Squishmallow cards, and
Yep.
buying boxes of those. Like, what are we doing? But it just, to me, that makes way more sense than the Phoenix box. No, I don't care that if I didn't get the value out of it. I did it because it was fun. I haven't ripped a lot in a while, bunch of stuff in a while. So I've never opened a box of Phoenix. I thought it would be a fun small play. I was there for milk, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the heck? I'll buy one and see how it goes. And
The thing about Phoenix though is it's one of the, for lack of a better word, I'm going to call it one of the boutique brands. It's a cool modern look, but it's not one of the traditional collectors' favorites,
yeah.
and not one of the rocks in the hobby. So you're
Well,
kind of gambling with those.
one of the things I like about that product, because I think you're right, it doesn't get highly talked about, but it's got a much smaller print run, and that
Yeah.
I like. That I'd rather have that than I'm not going to buy a Blaster Prism.
Yeah.
That just seems completely useless. Even though maybe those cards are traded a bit more, there's a heck of a lot more of them out there.
Yeah.
And I like Phoenix. I like the look of Phoenix. I have
I
some
love
really,
them. Especially like Firebursts. I love those.
Yeah, there's also the Color Blast, so that it has a great like case hit resellable card in it. And so, and as far as retail goes, I mean, what else was I gonna buy? And I'm
Right.
like, I'm just feeling the itch to rip something. I haven't. When was the last time I ripped something? It's been a while. Maybe was it when we did Topps Baseball? I mean, that was a really long time ago.
Yeah, it could be. That was March or February. February, I think.
Yeah, that might be the last thing that I opened. So it's extremely rare. I buy, 4 or 5 small boxes a year, and I just wanted to try Phoenix. I'd never done it before. I like a lot of the cards that I've gotten out of Phoenix, like bought from singles boxes and stuff. So I thought, let's see if I pull something cool. It was that or Zenith. They had Zenith Fat Packs, which actually weren't too bad a deal. I think those were $10, and you got, what do you get, like 12 or 14 cards or something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
And I love the look of Zenith. And you're right, it's one of those like under the radar type. Yeah, it's one of those under the radar type brands too, where not everybody's talking about it. It's not highly traded, blah 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 blah. But they make a lot less of it, and the cards are cool, and they sell. I sell them. I mean, Phoenix sells pretty well for me.
Yeah.
But how many base optic Mahomes do I have? Lots of them. How many base Phoenix Mahomes do I have? Not very many. So I at least feel like, even if I'm just pulling, which I did pull a base Mahomes out of there too, so I did get 2 Mahomes cards out of the box. But I feel like at least I'm not going to be overwhelmed with all these copies of Phoenix cards by buying another box. Where I can go, I can go to the show, card show this weekend, and I can go into somebody's dime or quarter box and buy stacks of Prism cards.
Right.
So that's kind of how I looked at it. They did have some new soccer. So I thought about some Champions League stuff, but I just right now I'm not doing that. I'm kind of sticking to my main players for soccer. It's if it was still Lamine Yamal's rookie year, I'd probably buy some, um, but it's not. That was last year. I really wish I would have held on to the rest of my Lamine Yamal rookies, but oh well. I made money on them at least, good money on them, but his Tops Living card now is up to like $80 raw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And you could have had that card for like $5, not that long ago. So he's really coming into his own. I hope he stops taunting other teams' fans though, because I think that could end poorly for him. He's too young to understand how stupid that is until something happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's just crushing it. Some of the stuff that he does, some of those outside shots, and yeah, he's insane. So if I run into a player like that, and it's and they have good cards in a set, I'm willing to probably spend a little bit more to try to pull something. But so cat's out of the bag. That's one of my big searches for the national this year is Lamine Yamal stuff at a decent price. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I have not seen much just laying around anywhere.
Yeah, well, nobody has soccer around here. I don't think people are. I think a lot of the dealers here are just too shy for it. It's a lot to learn. There's a lot of different leagues, and there just isn't that much of a collector market here either.
Well, you know what I hear there, Adam? There's a selling opportunity in this market for a soccer trading card leader.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It goes in waves. Like there's times where I sell like a whole bunch of soccer cards, a bunch of names I've never heard of, or I'll have somebody come in and place an Mbappe order and order like 20 Mbappe cards. Um, but it's more missed than I would like it to be.
Yeah.
And you're right. Maybe I just need to build more soccer, store placement to improve that. I don't know. We'll see. But that's something I thought about too, because for as many people that were like, "Don't have two stores. It's too hard to run two stores." They were full of crap because it's not hard at all.
Yeah.
I've really been enjoying it, and in some ways, it allows me to organize things a little bit easier because
Sure. Yeah.
I have the two places, and I'm like, well, maybe at some point I'd open a third store, and I do like maybe eventually get to the point where you have like this is my football store, this is my basketball store, this is my soccer store. Because for $300 a month, I can have 5 stores at 60,000 listings a piece versus just pumping up my primary store, my first store, my sports store, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
pumping that up to the $300 price tag, uh, and just keep expanding that way because my non-sports store has been super booming. Um, so it hasn't hurt me at all splitting it out. And I still sell a good amount of non-sports stuff in the main store, until that stuff is gone. But um, yeah, I don't know. So if anybody was like, "Oh, I don't know about a second store. I've heard horror stories," it really isn't that big a deal. I've had zero like issues with having 2 stores. The one thing is you got to make sure you check in on them both. That's probably the biggest addition because if you go to if you're logged into your main store in your app on your phone and you check your messages and you check your offers and things like that, that's it. That they're only coming for that one store. So you have to log out and log into the other one and check it or do what I did and get a second device. And try to run that other store on that. But again, not that big a deal. 10 to 15 times a day or however often I do it when I'm looking at offers or messages and stuff. If I'm not by my other device, I don't have it with me. I just log out, log into the new one. I have fingerprint login, so I don't have to put a password in or anything. Then I just pop in and I go right to that main stream. And luckily now on my main store, all those functions work. They didn't work for
Oh
years.
yeah, that's right.
They didn't work for years. So I had to go into like my browser and look at stuff on my phone. So this is way easier than what I was doing with just the one store. But I can go in there, see if I sent any offers, if I got any offers or any messages, zoom, take care of it all, and then boom, just log out, log into the other one. It saves my login info, fingerprint, for identity, and then boom, do the same thing on that account, and I'm out. So it really isn't that much extra, especially for the cost.
Real talk, you mentioned a browser. I had a real conversation this week with an adult, and I said, "Open up your browser," and they said, "What's a browser?"
Oh, it's not an employee of yours, is it?
I couldn't say, but I will say
Okay.
that this person is
No
not
longer working there.
not not like so old they've
Uh,
lived most of their life without the internet, so it's
mm,
like, yeah, someone doesn't know what a browser is.
yeah. Did I ever tell you the Gmail story from my coworker?
No.
She was this was during COVID, so people weren't allowed to come in. I was working at a credit union. People weren't allowed to come in and sign paperwork and stuff, so we were just sending it out. So she tells this lady, it was an older lady, so she at least had an excuse. She wasn't really into this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When she tells this lady, well, I can just email you the papers and you just click on the little box or whatever,
Right.
e-sign, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's trying to explain this to the lady, and the lady's like, well, I don't have email. And she's like, oh, well, you'd have to drive here, and we go out to the window with a mask on, and like the whole it's
Yeah.
terrible. It's terrible. And for an older person, they shouldn't be out, during something like that anyway. Um, but anyway, so she goes, but before my employee could say anything, she corrects herself and says, but I do have Gmail. So I don't have email, but I have Gmail.
Yeah.
So my employee, without missing a beat, says, okay, well, I'll Gmail them to you.
There you go.
And yeah, I'll never forget that. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, because all I hear is like her side of the conversation, in my office. And I
Yeah.
just hear her say, oh, okay, I'll Gmail them to you. And I'm like, what? So as soon as she got off the phone, I'm like, what the hell were you talking about? And so she told us, and we were just busting. It was great. But yeah, you
Yeah.
sometimes you're right. You have to kind of dumb something down, to somebody who doesn't understand it or have any experience in it.
This day and age, though, it's pretty shocking when you come across some of that stuff yet.
Yeah. I still see people every day where I'm like, I'm surprised you can put your pants on, and it's like you made it out here today. Congratulations. You haven't started on fire yet. You haven't, crashed and died. You got this far. So that's pretty impressive for today. So, all right. Should we get to some chitter chatter? I'm
Let's
probably
do
gonna
it.
have to, I'm probably gonna have to plug in here pretty quick.
As Tone Loc once said, let's do it.
I'm gonna have you start pulling stuff up. I'm gonna go get my outlet. I'll be right back.
I will do it. I will
Okay.
do it.
Sounds good.
Dan's with us tonight. He says new tech bugs. Yeah, we got some things to sort out, but we'll come through eventually. Speaking of tech, um, we'll always come through for you though. We'll make it work one way or another. Dan also bought a Tops Hobby Season 2 and says he has buyer's remorse. Now, Dan, I told you, don't do it. Don't do it. I think Top Series 1 is one thing because that's all the excitement of a new year of cards. Unless you're a completionist and you're really looking to do the whole set, I don't see the excitement in Series 2 or Update Series. Do I get some? Yes, but I typically don't go out and buy a hobby box of those. I typically, work the blasters, and you'll find a lot of them in value boxes in the next year, right? If not sooner. So yeah, you got to be careful with that. I get it on Series 1. Baseball's been gone for a while. Series 1 comes out. There's all that excitement. It's the flagship So it makes sense to me on that one. I just feel like the interest wanes quite a bit on Series 2 and Update Series. And as you may have discovered here, I don't know that they pack the boxes with the same same turnout with Series 2 and Update. So at least you have some good quality cards to enjoy yourself, Dan. Boomslang's here. He gives us the single yo to compliment Adam's yo, yo, yo. Good evening, Boomslang. Johnny M is here from upstate New York, if I recall correctly. Good evening. I'm not a collector, just a seller. Have my Seaver PC from years ago. So you do collect at least one. Stopped collecting him when he left the Mets. That was a long time ago, Johnny. I think you hold a grudge there. Pretty long time. Remind me never to cross you because I don't want to get on that list that Seaver's on. Lions Fan 9 is here tonight. Welcome. Hey guys, got a question that you've probably answered in the past. Do you think it's better to list everything at once or list in chunks? For example, listing a set amount versus listing till failure. I think, I guess I'll kick off an answer here. I think it depends on what you're listing. So we've talked before about I've got a listing strategy to keep things fresh for myself. I list a different sport every day, sport or non-sport. Mondays are baseball. Tuesdays are tip-off Tuesdays. I list basketball primarily. Wednesdays are Wild Wednesdays. That's when I do a lot of my non-sport. Thursdays, that is my Speed Thursdays, Turbo Thursdays, I call them, where I do all my racing, and Fridays are for football. Under that kind of a plan, I list just a chunk on each of those days. I don't really set a goal and say I need to empty out this box, or I don't open a blaster and say I need to list every one of these before I move on. Now, occasionally I do take that stance of, hey, I want to list everything. And that's usually more in like a new product. So Bowman came out recently. I tried to list everything I had in Bowman right away to get that fear of missing out surge in those first couple weeks. So there are time periods where I will say, get everything out of the same set, so to speak. But for the most part, I just do things in chunks, especially if it's stuff that there are certain things I don't want to flood the market with either. Like I may get a case of a product I don't see a lot of just browsing around. I don't know that I want to flood the market with that right away. I maybe want to measure the release of my listings on that. And I'll typically start with what I think are going to be the hotter cards, and then work into the next tier of cards that I think are going to be good sellers. What do you think of that, Adam? I think it's a good question.
I think the listing part of it is what's important. I don't think how many you list or which items you list. I mean, you still have to get a buyer that looks at it. So, what I like to typically do now, you got to remember, I got a ton of listings too, so I'm probably in a different spot than most of you. But what I do, like when I go and I'm looking to buy some singles, what I'm trying to buy is something that will trigger purchases of other cards I already have listed. And that's kind of my motivation for listing first. It's like, for example, I saw a lot of Mickey Mantle, modern Mickey Mantle, okay, not 1950s Mickey Mantle. But once in a while, I need a card like this, a nice parallel, shiny, something that somebody would really be going after. And I like to list, pick up a card like this. I might have overpaid for it slightly, but I'll get a quick sale on this, and someone will buy other Mickey Mantle cards I have listed. So I'm trying to look for things that will, I don't want a single card sale. I don't want to sell just this card. I want to sell 10 Mickey Mantles. So I tend to lean harder into the cards where I know I have buyers that buy that player and will buy multiple cards. Players that have a lot of cards out there where you can make multiple sales. Here's another example. Aaron Judge sells pretty much instantly, and he probably does for you guys too. So once in a while, I need to get a little bit better card than a base card, something like this, a nice mojo, right? Not super fancy. It's not serial numbered, nothing like that. But just a little bit better Aaron Judge card that I can get, $4 or $5 for, and then boom, a bunch of my Bowman base and things like that of Aaron Judge will sell, or other Yankee cards or whatever. Because I learned early on that was a big key in my success in building Brett Favre sales, which was how I started. Was I had some really good, more rare cards out there, and then just like anybody who buys bulk of a player, you end up with 30 copies of this Topps card and 35 copies of the Skybox card. But I could list all those, and then as long as I had a better card, those cards would sell along with it, and then offer the buyer a discount or something. So to kind of stay on topic with your question here, I think the biggest thing is that you get listings done. So when you said, should I just list it in a chunk or should I keep listing? You should keep listing. I mean, I don't, these cards that I bought yesterday, I don't see any benefit to them sitting on my desk for a week and not being listed. Like, what is that helping?
Well, what about the
you
3,000
can't
other
sell
cards
what you don't list. Yeah, I like Charlie's strategy of where he has like certain days and he lists certain things. I think most of us kind of do that. We have different chunks that we work on. But I would never get up this morning and go, I have to make sure I only list 40 cards because I want to have cards to list tomorrow. Like that doesn't make sense in my head.
I think to put this in a nutshell, I would say you're probably overthinking it. The act of listing is more important than what you're listing.
Yeah, and Charlie's right in the fact that you might have to watch a little bit of the market for specific cards. So, like if this card was really rare, I might not want to list 5 of these right away if I have 5. Especially if you have serial numbered cards. If there's a serial numbered card to 20 and you've got 5 copies of it, don't list all 5 of them. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. So something where it's more rare, where pop control would matter, or if you've got something PSA, low pop PSA graded or something like that, that might change your listing strategy a little bit. Well, I'll list one until it sells, and then I'll put another one out there, to try to keep the price up. But outside of that, when you're selling $1 and $2 cards, the amount of quantity that's out there is not going to be that relevant to whether or not yours sells, or if you can get the same amount of money.
Yeah, that's
so list them. Just list them.
And I guess if we look at this question in another way, because that's the tricky part of this question, you can take it a couple of different ways.
Sure.
If I've got 20 Aaron Judge base cards this year, I'm going to list them all in a quantity listing right away.
Yep.
So when you're talking about quantity of the same card, to Adam's point, if it's fairly common, I'm just going to list it all right away. No reason to save some of them.
And you might have somebody who just buys all 20. I have that happen quite often where somebody wants all 10 of them. Great. Give them a little bit of a price discount and move all 10 of those at one time. You can go buy, 10 more probably down the road at some point if it's a common card.
Right.
All right, move on.
All right. You want me to keep going with the chats, or are you going to take it back over?
No, I'm going to have you do it.
All right. Johnny M., he's also a fan of the Fairlife milk, and not even any lactose intolerance in the house. They just like it.
Yeah,
my milk is especially to die for.
Yeah, my daughter is like super hooked on, and it's not that like I have no problems buying the milk or whatever. It was more just a price shock, right?
Yeah.
Why would it get? And then, like, would that be tariffs? Like, it's milk. Why would there be care of
Yeah.
things impacting milk prices. I don't know. Maybe there is. I don't know.
It's
Maybe
funny. I
the
just said this to my wife a week or two ago because I had a bowl of cereal and we just have the Fairlife milk in the house too. And I was like, drinking this milk really reminds me of when years ago when I switched from regular soda to diet soda.
yeah.
And the first couple of times I had it, I was like, ugh, this is like
Okay.
watered down. It's really disappointing. And then after a while, I didn't even think about it anymore. It just
Right.
tasted normal to me. And that's where I'm at with the Fairlife now. First couple times I really didn't care for it that much. Like you could drink it, but it wasn't like I would seek it out. And now I have it and I don't even think about it anymore. Like this is
Yeah,
just what milk tastes like.
and I like it for like cooking and baking. I actually think in many ways it works better than milk. Um, because lactose kind of complicates things. It can make it kind of globby and stuff,
Yeah.
depending on in like whole milk or something. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. I would never like take a glass and fill it with Fairlife and drink the glass,
Mm-hmm.
but I like it for preparing foods and things like that. I think it's a quality product.
All right.
So I do believe you get some more for your money than you would, if you were buying a different milk. But 5.29 for a half gallon, like, whoo, that's
Pricey.
yeah, it's up there. We go through a lot less milk than we used to because my daughter's 10 now. You don't consume as much milk as you get older.
Yeah.
I think the whole, you know, I'm a kid, sit down, have a glass of milk thing is not what it used to be. I feel like that was more of a thing when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now it feels like so many people have problems with dairy. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is. Does seem to be more prevalent these days.
So, but yeah, if you do have a problem with that or you're just looking for something different, Fairlife is a great product.
Yeah. Dance's Sport Kings. He bought one once and got a Griffey jersey and was super stoked. Yeah, that
Dude,
would be a nice pull out of those.
I would keep that.
You would keep it?
Heck yeah, for Griffey, I would. Because you're not going to, especially if it was game use. I mean, I got an LK line. I thought that was pretty solid. A Hall of Fame player, game used.
Mm-hmm.
More vintage. I mean, he hasn't played baseball in what, 20 years, 30 years?
Right. Right.
I was like, man, that's decent. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of products that just get easily overlooked. And if you're somebody who's just looking to buy a box and then list the single cards, I think there's products that are much better than the stuff a lot of people are buying.
Yeah, I would agree. Looks like he also sold that rock climbing card that I
Hey,
was
there you
showing
go.
there. Something must have
I know.
happened to make people look for him.
Well, and the cool thing about that box was it was a set, and then you got a couple of like parallels and stuff, right?
Right, you would get the mini and then a couple colored border parallels.
The blue border ones or whatever. So I liked that because I was like, well, I want, you know, you're for sure going to get like one of each card, which is great for listing. And then, um, yeah, I know my mini was that dog trainer one. Trying to think of what my parallels were, but I sold the rock climber card too.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the kind of stuff I just think I think that's where you really got to try to find a little niche is something that not everybody else is selling.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
Daryl Valley's here, wanting to get into WNBA. Besides Airly and Reese, who are like 10 players to buy into? Boy, 10's a big number for us in WNBA, I think.
yeah, it is.
I can give you a couple. Obviously, you have Caitlin and you have Angel Reese. So you're off to a good start there. Paige Beckers is the biggest name for this year. Dominique Malanga of the Seattle Storm is she was a number 2 pick, international pick. So there's a lot of buzz there. Kiki, how do you say her name? Iriafen? Kiki Iriafen
Mm-hmm.
of the
Yep.
Mystics. Again, high scoring player, came out of a big program in USC. She's expected to make a pretty quick impact. People are clamoring for first Bowman auto, which you can, any of the top picks, you can usually count on a first Bowman auto being a pretty good pull.
Picked up an Angel Reese rookie yesterday.
There you go. Sonia Citron of the Mystics. She was a number 3 pick. So she could be a good asset as well. And then how about Haley Van Lith? Anybody with 3 names has got to be good, right? I have 2 rules. If they have 1 name, they're a superstar eventually. If they have 3 names, they got to be pretty good too. She's with the Chicago Sky.
I want to throw in Juju Watkins.
Yeah.
Sabrina Ionescu has sold really well for me.
She's probably on the decline, though.
She is, but I'm talking hobby. I'm just talking hobby players that have sold. Hannah Hidalgo is okay. She's kind of, I think she's still in college, actually, so she's kind of an up-and-comer. She's a younger player. If that's your thing, is looking for the next prospect. Brink.
Cameron Brink, yeah.
Cameron Brink.
Here's my thing about the WNBA. I feel like their rookie year is maybe the only time to really go after them. I feel like they fall off a cliff in the 2nd and 3rd years, and as far as the hobby goes.
Yeah, that's probably true, except for, well,
Caitlin Clark obviously is staying strong.
Yeah, but she's like the representative of the league at this point.
Yeah.
The poster child, so they're going to keep pushing her too. Yeah, Ionescu is really the only like vet that I can think of that really sells well for me. Sue Bird, I'll sell a few Sue Bird cards here or there. Lisa Leslie once in a great while, but I don't have much either. I don't really buy them.
See, and that's what I mean.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Sue Bird is an all-time great, right?
Mm-hmm,
Lisa Leslie is an all-time great. And just like you, I'll sell one once in a while. They don't move like, all-time greats in football or baseball or NBA, right? I would consider it still an emerging market. I think it is light years ahead of where it was 5-6 years ago, but it's still got a long way to go.
And the catch for me with most of this is I'm at a little bit different point in my business than most of you probably are. I don't want to sell 1 card. I want to sell 8 or 9 cards. So to sell a stack of WNBA cards at a time doesn't really happen very often.
Pretty tough, yeah.
Soccer I can do that with. Basketball, I sell definitely more multiple basketball, football, baseball. Yeah, I can't think of, hell, Star Wars. I'll sell, 15 Star Wars cards at a time, but WNBA, no. And again, I don't stock very much, so that's I'm sure part of it. But yeah, I don't think I would base an entire store or an entire business off of WNBA stuff. I just think it's too risky.
To one of our earlier comments, there's often a need for someone who specializes in that niche, right? So if you can build the right base, you might be able to carve yourself out a space that nobody else is really catering to.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think like right now, like if I have 60,000 listings and they're all WNBA, I don't think I'd be doing as well as what I'm doing. So I'm just saying, like, as far as the model, it doesn't really flush itself out right now.
Agreed.
Yeah. To run on its own. Whereas if you get good stuff and you can find inventory regularly, you can literally run an entire Michael Jordan store and make a living doing that.
Right.
There are a few sellers that do. So I just don't think that sport is really at that point. You know what I saw this week that I had no idea they made cards of, but you can see where
Water
there's
skiing squirrels.
no, because I would have bought that. That would have been the first thing I would have talked about on the show tonight.
And you know they make cards of that because you've had one.
I have, yes, not a whole set though. They make a professional softball set. Apparently, there's a professional softball league that's just trying to get underway, and they just have a few teams in Texas, so it's called like the Texas Stars Softball League or something like that. But they have a card product out. I can't even remember who licenses it. It's not like one of the main companies. It's not Topps or Panini or anything like that. It was one of the smaller companies.
Yeah.
But anyway, if the boxes were a decent price, you got 2 autos in it, so you could tell like they were trying to put some real effort into it, and it'd be interesting to see if that. I always kind of wondered why there wasn't a professional softball league, but women's sports are just tough. They just have a really hard time building fan bases. Except there are exceptions, of course. I think U.S. women's soccer has done very, very well for a long period of time. Has a bigger fan base than the men's team. But that's kind of it. I can't really. There's no like women's volleyball professional cards out there. There's stuff from the Olympics and
Beach
that kind of thing.
volleyball, you find a little bit of that.
Yeah, exactly. But even that, it's mostly Olympics versus just pro league stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think there's an
And then-
opportunity.
And then you have some sports that are both sides. So you have like tennis that, of course, has professional women's athletes and men's athletes. So there's. Oh, geez. So there are some kind of sports like that women have had success in selling cards and things in, but WNBA is kind of it.
Yeah.
To this point. So be interesting to see if it build, if a lot of women's sports and leagues build off of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jason's card shop is here too. He gets to watch live this week. Look at that. Unfortunately, though, it's because his wife had gallbladder surgery. So he's home for the week to take care of her. So hope recovery goes well. Hey, I'll actually be going under the knife myself next week, Adam. So I don't think it'll affect the show. Getting carpal tunnel surgery on Tuesday morning. So from the sounds of it, all should be fine on Wednesday. They make it sound so easy now, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've had friends who've had that done, and they said I was in there for like an hour, and then I went home. So I don't know.
I have to arrive at 9:45. The surgery is scheduled at 10:10, and they said I will be leaving at 10:15.
Okay.
They said it's really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was quite that quick for him. Although I think he had both done at once, which is crazy to me. But
yeah, I did not want to go that route.
Yeah. I've been fortunate. I haven't had any of those kind of problems. So hopefully, I hope it goes well for you.
Give it another 10 years.
It'll be something, right? Even if it's not that, the older you get, the more you got to go in for crap. So
yeah, that is true.
That's what it is.
Dan has a question for you, Adam. Have you surpassed the 11K listings on the non-sport?
No, I am but it's close. I can check real quick. Let me see. I'm going to block you though, because now you're in front of my laptop.
Oh boy.
Oh, hold on. Let me move you up here. Then I can do it.
All right. We're on the move.
You're on the move. All right, let's see where we're at.
Isn't it on your second phone?
Yeah, you're right. I could just look at that, huh? Good call. 9,268. So we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, that won't take you too long to get there, though.
I wouldn't think so. I've had a lot of sales in there. I thought it would have been further along, but stuff has been selling really well. But I have quite a bit to list yet. A lot of it is stuff I can't scan, like acetate stuff and just weird stuff. Here's a Star Wars card that's still in the original wrapper, like a promo card.
Yeah.
Like, just have a lot of that stuff. I have a ton of CCG that a lot of it doesn't get identified. The Card Dealer Pro is not that great at trading card games. I've learned that pretty quick. If you're scanning a bunch of Pokemon, fine, but a lot of the other stuff does not come up very well.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's good for now.
All right.
Yeah,
So closing in on 10K.
9,268. Yeah, and I'll have to bump up before, obviously, I hit 11,000, because I want to have some cushions where I'm not like accidentally paying for listings or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'll go from the 20 to the $60 at that point, at the premium store, and then I've got 50,000 to go from there. So
Yeah.
I'll be good then for a while in that store.
It's kind of interesting though, thinking about how quickly you've grown the store today with the scanner compared to 5 years ago when you started your first store or whenever it was, right? It probably didn't grow that fast, did it? No.
No. To be fair, I was working another job too that has something to do with it. But yeah, and I've gotten really fast at listing, and the eBay app has gotten better, for the stuff that I don't scan. I very rarely have to put much in, and I hit AI for the description. I don't have to copy and paste or do anything with that. And yeah, I kind of have my patterns down a little bit better. I know exactly what I'm going to put on the listing. I know more cards. My own database has gotten bigger. So
Yep.
yeah, it's not as big a deal as it once was, to try to fill those numbers. But yeah, I have like boxes of Pokemon commons and Star Wars commons and some Magic stuff, and so I could easily go over 11,000 in a very short period of time.
Right.
So stay tuned. I'll update you as it's going, but I have yet to have a day where my non-sport outsells my sport, but it's gotten closer than I thought it would have at this point. I had a day where it was like 260 something in the sports store, and then it was like 210 something in the non-sports store. I was like, ooh. And to some degree it matters, it depends on like what card sold, if you have $100 card sell, of course you're gonna, have a bigger, for me, that's a big card, right? $100.
Right.
That's obviously going to influence one store over the other. But speaking of that, I've been getting a ton of offers lately on my PSA stuff that I've got listed. And so it's got to be because the prices have gone up quite a bit at PSA. Grading's gotten tougher. Submissions are taking longer, things like that. So it's like I'm seeing more people coming in and going, well, this was an overpriced, price on this card, but now it's starting to fall more in line, and I'm starting to get more interest and sales. I sold more too.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to talk about PSA a little bit and how it pertains to the national. So we always talk about what's your plan for the national, what's your strategy for the national. So we know that PSA always has a presence there. They do on-site grading. Do you think that is more of a draw this year? That's more of a strategy for people to say, hey, I'm gonna save up my cards and take them to the national and get them graded when I'm there.
It depends. The cost has gotten so astronomical on that. $100 a card or whatever to do it is just, whew.
Yeah.
I can remember the first year, and I of course should have done it that year, but I can remember the in-person grading fee was like $25.
Sure.
Which is crazy. So I think the fact that you can take out the shipping costs and the insurance payments and the time, you can essentially can drop them off on Thursday and pick them up on Sunday in many cases. Uh, Handing them off right to PSA, you don't have to worry about the mail service or them sitting in a warehouse, and you know. So I think there's value in that. I guess you just got to decide, depending on the card you're going to get graded, if it's worth it for the larger in-person fee. I don't think they've said how much it was going to cost in person yet, did they?
Not that I've
I
seen
haven't
yet.
seen it.
No.
Yeah. There hasn't been much coming out on the national really yet. It'll start heating up in the next, probably week or two.
Yeah.
I know they've announced a few more signers, and they're kind of finishing that stuff up, but then they'll get to like actual vendor details and
Yeah.
events and stuff like that.
So at around $100 a card, I think if turnaround time is one of your biggest things, I think it's like $75 for like the 10-day turnaround time.
Yeah.
So only, let's say we go with $100, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
$25. That half of that is your shipping and insurance, probably, if you're grading a card that you want that kind of turnaround time on. So I don't think it's too crazy the prices they put on it. Considering you take out another set of hands, you're right there anyway. Is it something that I'll do? No, I don't move the type of cards that I can spend $100 grading. Right, I have a hard enough time stomaching the $25 grading fee for the value services, and then the shipping, and then the weight for the cards I move. That wouldn't be for me. But with all the changes, I thought maybe they'll see a bigger turnout this year.
I've already been to it where they've had lines and lines and lines. Because the other thing is, you have to remember, you're going to probably waste an entire day of your
In line,
national.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you have it completed ahead of time and all that, you got to wait in line, do your submission, then you got to go back and wait in line, another day to pick it up. And so you got to decide what you want to get out of your convention experience too.
Yeah.
And for me, spending a whole day, in value boxes and digging through that stuff, makes a lot more sense than dropping a card off to get graded. So.
Yeah, well, the only thing I really want to wait in line for there is the redemption packs.
The redemption packs, a turn at the wild card wheel, that's always fun.
Yes. We'll keep Dan away from there.
Yeah. No, that's the first place I'm taking Dan. Because I like to see the stuff ripped, And actually, we bought stuff there too. Those Skeens packs were awesome.
I bought a lot. I bought too much.
You did. Yeah, it takes some self-control there. It's sort of like Vegas inside a card show,
It was my first time at the National. Give me a break.
So I think, I think it's wasting an entire day, probably day and a half-ish or so. For me, I see it as wasting to stand in line at PSA. Just doesn't make it for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think PSA is coming to the Madison show again, so I'd rather just go down there. I know that's not a same day service, like they do have to mail them to you later, but you can at least take them down there and submit them in person and get a receipt, which is nice. And I don't think they charge the national price. I think they charge not like the same weekend turnaround costs. They charge like a normal submission cost to it. So there's, we have options. We're fortunate where we are. We have options outside of the national to submit in person if you really want to do that.
Right.
And I don't think you'd have to stand in line all day at Madison.
No.
For it.
I'm sure there would be a good turnout for it, but maybe not a whole day like at the National.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. Bargain Boxer. He's always got these very specific questions. I love him for it, but I never have a good answer myself. He's probably always dissatisfied with my answers. So Question: what card or cards have you sold on eBay that you regret selling? And also, what card have you sold that has gone up the most since you sold it? I know my answer on this, but I'll let you go first.
Uh, Probably my first edition Kaboom Brett Favre.
Okay.
Um, I made a ton of money on it. You could pick Kabooms up at the National for like $25 before everything took off. I mean, they were popular, and people were buying them, but it was just $25. It was just kind of a better insert card essentially.
Yeah.
And I think what I paid for mine, 20 or $25, and I sold it for like 500 and something. So it was just too good. And I was still trying to build my business, and I wanted some capital to buy some more cards and things like that. So I sold that one. Um, I do have a graded one, PSA 9. So I kind of felt like it was a backup copy, but I also felt like that copy looked a little nicer, even though it was raw. So it's kind of do I sell the PSA 9 and try to get the 10, or do I just sell this one raw and take the money? And I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one where think about it once in a while, like should I have or shouldn't I have?
Yep.
What card have you sold that has gone up the most since I sold it? I'd say probably my Topps Chrome Aluminium All that I bought for like $2, and now it's like 65 or $70. If we're talking like current cards, overall, I don't know. I'd have to really think about it. Maybe one of my Otani rookies. I was buying stacks of Otani rookies after Tommy John for pretty cheap, and I was selling those. Made good money on them, but a lot of them have obviously gone up since then because that was like 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, most of the stuff I've sold has gone down, if anything. So,
Okay.
because the market has been in mainly a decline since I started selling. So,
Hmm.
so I would say, other than the aluminium all, I do, and I said that earlier in the broadcast. I kind of regret selling those
Yeah.
when I had them, but
Yeah. For me, it's much more vague. So, what cards have I sold that I regret selling? Pretty much every card of my favorite players. I fight the attachment on cards regularly. So every Mike Trout card I sell, just about every wrestling card I sell. Um, I really struggle selling every auto and every memorabilia card. Like, what was it? Richard Petty fire suit NASCAR card I had sold earlier this year. Like, I really had trouble parting ways with that because of the things that go along with it. So there's not any one specific card that I would tell you, man, I wish I hadn't have sold this, because I go through that pain at least weekly. There's a card I move out that I was like, man, I really like that. I'd love to have that on my shelf, but that's not my business, right? Like, I wouldn't have a business if I don't sell it. And Adam, you kind of helped me get through that early on. So similarly, what cards have I sold that's gone up the most since I sold it? I can honestly tell you, I have no idea, because I never look back. I never look back at them. Once I sell it, I move on to the next pickup and list and sell, right? Which, I get it if you want to say, oh, that takes all the heart and soul out of it. To an extent, you're right, but I have to keep a separation to be an effective seller too. Don't get me wrong, I still have my cards I get. You guys have seen before, like some of the fun stuff, like the Mahomes Dynamite with the goat. I don't plan on ever selling that ever. So I still collect some things when it's the right thing. What the heck? Marvin the Martian. Here's one. A Mankind, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. This is in my box of cards I want to keep potentially, and maybe even send in and grade just to get it encapsulated. And and keep it safe and make it even better to display. So once I sell it, I really don't look back, because I don't want to have that seller's regret, because sometimes just deciding to list it is really hard for me, because I literally do look at each card and say, is this something I want to keep or should I just sell it? And there's always that moment with some of my favorite players, Nolan Ryan, some of the great Brewers like a Robin Yount. I have like one Brewers card, even though I consider myself a lifelong fan. I've only really kept one to put on, well, two on a shelf. I've got the Robin Yount Blue Mojo that we saw last week on the show, and when it was asked to show what's behind me. And I have Kurt Bavecchia, is that his name? In the Bazooka Joe bubble blowing competition, which has little to no value. I just think it's a fun, cool card. So those are the two I keep out of Brewers, being a huge fan, So I just find that people like the same cards I like, right? So if I keep them all, what am I going to sell?
Yeah, and I really don't get attached to most cards. I have a few, higher end Favre cards. I got my 1,000 stripe around here somewhere. I don't remember where I put it now. But yeah, I just don't. I don't know. To me, I like to enjoy them and then move them on. I'm fine with that, especially if I can make a profit on it.
Yep.
I've got. I keep some things that I like. I've got my Stranger Things, Hawkins High School patch card, just some little random stuff. My Chicago National Erling Haaland, so it's got the Chicago skyline behind it.
Yeah.
I like that. Some of the Field of Dreams cards I bought from Charlie, ironically enough. I have just some small stuff that, for the most part, my F-Face card, my Billy Ripken. I love that card. I'll never sell that. My Atom Bombs, my Garbage Pail Kids Atom Bomb cards. So I have some attachments to those small dollar stuff for the most part, although the F-Face card is getting pretty expensive now. Keeps going up, 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 up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any strong regrets on anything. The only one that really pops in my head is that Kaboom, just because I know I could never get one at a decent price ever again.
Yeah.
No regrets. Raw one anyway. Huh?
No regrets.
Yeah. Exactly. And I know I bought some good stuff with the money that I got from that card. So I feel like sometimes this is a capital heavy business. Like, you have to put a bunch of money into it up front in order to get anywhere. So sometimes that's just the cost of doing business. You gotta sell some stuff to get some growth.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So I think if you sold it and you're using that to build your business, I don't see how you could regret that at all. Especially if you made money on it. Like,
Right.
You made a profit. Like, what do you want? But I get what he's saying. He's saying not regret like dollars. He's saying regret because you still want to have the card. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yep. And he's got a fun fact for us too. He and Al Kaline share the same birthday.
Hey, there you go. We were just talking about Al. All right, awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Lions fan. Love me some Al Kaline. Have quite a few, including 2 autos. Never watched him play, but I can respect the times when the Tigres are great. Right now is a fun time for us.
Yeah, they're pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Beat the Brewers today.
Why are you going to throw that in there?
Because it's fact, and I like facts. And the fact is, the Brewers lost. Oh, wait,
yeah,
no.
They didn't play
the Tigers.
Orioles. Yeah,
they played the Orioles, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they won the first 2 games, and then they lost today.
They did, yes. Cubs won though, so that's what matters.
There you go. Fly the flag.
Yep.
The biggest card in Lions Fans Store is a Paige Becker's PSA 10 Sapphire Auto. Nice. So now the question is, will that appreciate or depreciate?
Depreciate.
And what would it take for it to appreciate?
I think you would need a bigger, enthusiastic fan base with a penchant for collecting cards than what currently exists.
So even if she goes on to be like a Hall of Famer in the WNBA?
So is Sabrina Ionescu, so is Lisa Leslie, and their rookie cards haven't skyrocketed.
Fair point.
So I have nothing against Paige Beckers. I'm not saying this is a for sure thing. You're asking me a question. What do I think about the future of that? And I see way more potential downs than I do ups. And honestly, it's probably that way for almost every card, regardless of how popular the player or the sport is. Unless you come out of nowhere, like a Brady or something like that, where Brady's rookie card when it came out was worth like 50 cents,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now it's his Bowman Chrome or whatever. Now it's $10,000 raw or $20,000, whatever it is, because that's it. There weren't very many cards produced. It was a lower print year. A lot of the sets didn't put him in it because he was a late pick. Purdy, same thing. Stuff like that. Those, I think, there's a lot more to it than just was the player good, their card went up. It has to do with print counts, rarity, pop, if they're graded, hobby for that sport, how many, I don't know. There's a lot of variables.
Yep, absolutely.
And if they have high equity going in, it's really tough to push that up even higher. There's just less room.
Yep, I agree with you. Bargain Boxer says Dewana Bonner is a nice pull and a nice asset. Oh, that might be a double entendre.
Wow. Yeah, that might be the case. Yeah, I don't know much about her, but I'll take your word for it.
16-year vet, 2 WNBA championships. So
there you go.
Yeah. Distinguished vet. She's in that category. Johnny M says only 2 cards in his life he wishes he never sold. Exquisite Jordan LeBron dual patch number. A bookend. 23 of 23. It was on the cover of Beckett back in the day.
Dang, yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah, for sure. And I was saying, what'd you get? And I see others asked as well. And you get 2,500 at the time.
That probably was good at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to judge you. I mean, if that's the price on the market then that's what it was. You can't, there's no crystal ball.
Yep.
Did you make money on it? Did you sell it for more than you bought it for?
That's the real question, right?
I remember when those came out and they were $100 a pack. The old 0304 Exquisite. I think that was the first year of Exquisite. And they kind of put it out because LeBron was coming in and he was, there was so much attention on it. They were going to sell a lot of cards. So they're like, oh, let's put the super high-end card out. But I remember it was $100 a pack and we all looked at each other like, who the hell is going to buy this?
Yeah.
Now I think they're like $5,000 a pack or something like that. Something crazy. 10,000, whatever. So yeah, things you think are not going to happen sometimes happen.
Yeah. Johnny says he also sold a Babe Ruth Absolute Game Worn Jumbo jersey out of 15. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they actually don't cut up Babe Ruth jerseys anymore, so you will never see a card in the future of a game used jersey of Babe Ruth.
See, like that's the kind of thing I don't know if I would be able to bring myself to sell.
It depends on how much money you're talking and what you're going to do with the proceeds.
That's true.
You know, I sold my BGS 9.5 Super Bowl stamped Brett Favre Stadium Club card for 3,500, and I paid like 1,200 for it, so I got a pretty good return on it.
Yeah.
And but I got two more after that for lesser prices. So sometimes you take the sale and then hope you can find another one at a little bit of a discount, and you can kind of replace it. And the other thing that was cool about that sale is I sold it to a famous actor, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay.
I think I told you who it was previously.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to throw his name out here, but
yeah.
So sometimes like that experience is just cool. You know, I have a photograph of the, shipping label and all that stuff going out to him. So I don't know. You have to kind of make that call on stuff. Now, if you sell a Babe Ruth, game used jersey out of 15, are you going to find another one? No, probably not. I would think that all 15 of those are locked up.
Yeah.
Somewhere. So that's the type of card where once you sell it, that's it. It's not coming back. Or if it is, you're going to pay a premium to get it.
Right. Yeah. A Bargain Boxer has a nice one too. An 0304 Exquisite LeBron on a 99. Wife made him sell it.
Yeah, you can't keep them all, and sometimes you got to sell the better ones to get the real money. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Keep an eye out on it though. That's on a 99. That might be something you could track down later if you want to pony up the money to get it. So,
right.
That's kind of where I look at those one. Like, how can I ever regret selling like a Bobby Witt Jr. Topps rookie? Like, I can go get another. You know what I mean? But that Favre kaboom, like those never come up. Everybody has those first year kabooms on kind of on lockdown now.
Right.
So like, well, if I sell this, it's gone. Like, I would have to pay a lot to pry this out of somebody's hands in the future. So, is what it is.
Yep, but 6,500 for that LeBron, that certainly would make me think about selling it, right?
Yep. You can buy a lot of little LeBron cards and some other cool cards for that 6,500, and
yeah, for sure. Snappy is here again. Hi, fellas. Curious if you list everything you have, less PC cards, or do you hold certain players and/or products for them to get hot or a season to start?
No, kind of the same answer to the question earlier. If you have cards, list them, because you never know when you can get a sale. Because I kind of thought about this, when I was originally getting going, and it was like, well, do I want to list football now? It's out of season. No one's going to buy football. I should wait till August to start listing my football. My prices don't change regardless of when I list it, so it really doesn't matter when I list it, like what time of year. And I mean, yesterday I was looking at my sports sales, and almost all of them were football. So, that theory doesn't really hold true. Now today, most of it was baseball. So, I just think if you have a card that you can price well and sell, you should just list it. I mean, you never know when it's going to go. And if we're all doing the same thing, if we're all saying don't list any football until August, and now we're all listing all our football in August, how is that going to help you get a sale? I just list stuff. List it and get a sale. You can't sell it if you don't list it. It's that simple. So put it out there, see if you can get a sale.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm the same. Now, I do occasionally, like in a short time window, maybe if if I'm expecting something to happen, I don't necessarily hold them, but I might start stockpiling cards like Albert Pujols, Yadi Molina. I kind of have a stockpile of those cards I've been building. I list some, but I can't keep up with the listing because I've been stockpiling them too. Waiting to get closer to like Hall of Fame type of scenario. But that doesn't stop me from saying, "Oh, I'm going to list 10 Albert Pujols today." So it's not like a hard and fast. I'm going to hold. I just know that I've set aside a box full of them that I'm going to hit even harder as it gets closer. Now,
Yeah, and then,
go ahead.
okay.
Well, I was.
There,
You go.
there is times where I will buy a card specifically because that player is hot. Then I want to list it right away and try to get the sale. So, like here's Mr. Pete Crow Armstrong, right? PCA, super hot start to the season. Cubs are way better than anybody thought they were going to be. Will that last all season? I don't know. So, I bought specifically some PCA stuff to list right away, and kind of ride this early season success and get some sales. And again, I use that as kind of a tack on card, right? I sell that, I can sell some Ian Happ rookies and some, Justin Steele and other players from the team that will hopefully, be of interest to a buyer who's looking for PCA stuff.
Yeah. Now,
Tucker. I sold a bunch of Tucker rookies too. That was the other one. Kyle Tucker.
I am for the first time kind of thinking about prospecting in the Bowman. I'm still holding on to a few cards here, like a Charlie Condon Chrome first Bowman, JJ first Bowman Chrome, and kind of toying with the idea, like, do I want to grade these and hold them and do a little bit of prospecting? I'm still kind of torn on it. I haven't before, but I might try to hold on to a couple of them and see if I hit on a few guys. Because if you can hit on a couple over the next couple years, you at least should be able to get your investment back for the most part, even to cover the guys you missed on.
Yep.
But it's such a long game, and I don't know if I have the patience for the long game.
I just list stuff. I just list it because you could still list it now, and if the player gets called up, then it generates a sale. So why? So now you're going to hold it, wait till they get called up, now try to quick list it and sell it. Like I don't get the motivation behind that. At least on the bigger name players where there's a pretty good odds that they could get called up. If it's a super long shot, pick number 120 or however many picks they have in baseball. Well, maybe you don't want to put that in the store just because you don't want to clog it up and use up a listing more than anything else. I don't know. I like to sell stuff.
Yeah.
So I look at this and I'm like, well, I can hold this for 3 years and see if he does something, or I can put it out there for $2 and see if I can sell it.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have, 70,000 other things you can sell today.
Yeah. It's true.
So
there's a lot of those prospects too who their best sales are way before they ever get to the league.
Yep, that's true.
So how many of those are going to be like, the Trout or whatever? How many of those are going to be that, and how many of those are going to be like, no one really cares, in a year? Versus right now, they're a prospect that has some demand.
I definitely think you have to be selective with it. I wouldn't advocate, every first Bowman you get, hold on to it. But at the same time, how would you like to have that first Bowman Mike Trout right now?
Sure.
Even though that market's down a little bit, it's still strong, right?
The thing is you would have sold that sometime back in 2012 or 2013, likely. or 14 or whatever, whenever he, really broke out and, had his first big year, you probably would have sold it at that point. I don't
Sure.
know, you'd still have it today.
Yeah, maybe.
So there are some players like that you might just miss out on the long run of value. But I can remember in '01 when Pujols was huge, right? He was crushing it when he came into the league.
Mhm.
And I remember his, early Topps Chrome rookies and stuff and how much they were going for. And they go for about the same today.
Okay.
So just sell it in 2001. That was 25-year ago money, which was much better than it is now. So most of the time, your nickel today is better than your dime tomorrow. If we're straight looking at it from value.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, if you have that, end of the draft pick that you can get, a nice Bowman Chrome base first rookie for 50 cents on and maybe get $10 for it down the road. Okay, I guess, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of work for the potential return.
Yeah, I think the odds are in your favor on that to just sell it now.
Yeah. Unless you want to do something big, like you really believe in this player, you've watched all their minor league games, blah, 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 then buy like an out of 10, auto or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do it for real. Say, okay, yeah, it's going to be $150. This kid's never done anything yet, but this is a really nice big card. And if he's Trout, I can get $10,000 for this card down the road.
Right.
And play it as a big game as opposed to here's their Bowman paper first Bowman. I just bought a Jason Dominguez Bowman paper first card for $0.25.
Right.
And people were paying like $50 for that card in 2020.
True. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a guy who's panned out. He's playing. And his defense sucks. His defense sucks, but he's hitting okay. And the Yankees will make the playoffs. They're the Yankees, so they're always going to have that fan base. And he hits one home run in the playoffs, and he's right back on a pedestal. So,
yeah,
how many players How many players will even get to that point? Most won't.
Right.
It's like people were talking about George. You know what George Lombard is?
Yeah.
And they're talking about, him with the Yankees and this and that. I'm like, just sell the damn card because I don't know that he's going to be the second coming of Mickey Mantle. I just don't. It's those players are just rare. They just don't happen.
That's true. So that's the lure, right? Can you catch one?
I think you're better off being on the sales end of a transaction like that than a buyer. Your odds are much better as the seller.
Yeah.
Of doing well than they are of the buyer with maybe someday potentially this could be something.
Sure.
Look at all those people who bought all the Wander Franco,
That's a good point.
So I don't know. But that's the gambling side of it. And I'm not against that. I think if you want to do that a little bit with somebody you really believe in, I kind of did that with Purdy. I held some of my Purdy. I got some big Purdy cards. I kept them. I feel like the kid's going to be. Did you see his contract, by the way?
Yeah. You're still wrong, though.
He got some big money. Well, whatever. I mean, I haven't been really wrong yet. I mean, he's been to a couple of Super Bowls and he hasn't won anything yet. I get all that, but that was like my one guy where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hang on to this stuff. I was getting them cheap and last pick in the draft, the Cinderella story, all those things were in play.
Yeah.
At the time, the 49ers were really good. Last year, they kind of fell apart, but they had been a good team up till then, which matters,
Right.
as far as your quarterback play. So, and I think it's a little easier to prospect in football. You're going to buy quarterbacks you think will start. That's literally all you have to do. And they should have some value. Speaking of which, I sold 3 Teddy Two Gloves rookies this week to a buyer. One was a patch rookie, and then a Prism die cut silver rookie. I can't remember what the other one was. It might have been like Topps Platinum or something. It was another shiny card. But I get those really cheap. To me, I'd rather buy a card like that and resell it than like some potentially minor league call up.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like that's easier when you're talking about it on the business side of things and making money and I need to sell cards to eat kind of thing. I have to look at it a little differently in most of those scenarios.
Sure. Yeah,
But
you definitely have
Bowman
to take fewer chances.
yeah. And the people who tell you like, oh yeah, well I bought these, Trout cards and I held on to them for 4 years till he got called up and then I made all this money on it. How many other players did they do that with where they didn't make anything or they lost their shirt on it?
Right.
It's like the guy who's goes to the casino all the time, right? Which story does he tell you when he talks to you? He says,
Just when
hey,
he
man,
wins.
I hit the jackpot on this machine and I won $5,000. And you're like, you won $5,000? Wow, that's awesome. But he had gone there every day for the last 5 years and put $200 in the machines.
Right.
It's weighted so that you're not going to be that successful with it. It's just that way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like 0.7 something success rate for a baseball draft player to get to the major leagues. Not to be a Hall of Famer, but to get to the major. It's super small, way smaller
Yeah.
than I thought it would be.
It is.
What I like to do in for the prospect side is I like to buy each year. I'll just buy like a big lot of first bowman cards. Some of them are probably no namers. Some of them are probably mid-level prospects or whatever. Just buy a box of those. I list them, and then as they kind of move through the farm system or they get one day call up or whatever, stuff gets plucked out and they sell.
Right.
And that's been a little bit better for me, and you get them so cheap, so that's kind of, if you're going to do it, that I would either do it where you're buying like a huge lot for a low price. So as long as you hit out of one or two of those cards, you're going to be fine.
Mhm.
You increase your odds quite a bit. Or you simply take the big gamble, you go all in and you say, I'm going to buy an out of 10 auto of this kid for $150 now, and I'm going to hold it and see.
Yeah.
To me, those are the two plays.
I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
All right. Rip and Flip is here. He's got a question I don't think we can really answer. Do you guys offer free returns when selling sealed boxes?
No, because I don't sell sealed boxes.
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever take any sealed product back because you don't know how it would be tampered with or anything. If you're considering yourself a retailer, name a store where you can go buy a box and then return it. None of them have returns. And we're talking big stores that will let you return pretty much anything. Their policies are pretty clear. They will not take back trading card boxes and packs. So me personally, if I was doing boxes or packs, no. Once you buy it, that's the end of it. Now, that's actually kind of tough with eBay because you kind of have to accept returns, and I think you could get screwed pretty quick as a seller.
Yeah, for sure.
On those products.
Yeah, I think I've only sold one item of sealed boxes, and that was Pokemon ETB of Prismatic Evolutions, right? So, and fortunately, no issues there.
Yeah, and I still think 98% of the population buying those products off of you are fine. But if somebody's like, "Hey, I want to send this," why would you want to send a sealed box back? Like, I don't get it. No, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, if it got damaged in shipping, or you sent a different box than what the listing was, or if there's some legit reason that makes sense, fine. But if it's just like, well, I don't want it now, no, I wouldn't want to do that. And those policies might be different. I guess I haven't looked into them in eBay. Maybe you don't have to take returns if it's like sealed wax because of what it is. I don't know. but I know with singles you pretty much do. Even if they simply just change their mind, and that's the only reason it's coming back, you pretty much have to take it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bargain Boxer says that card his wife was not happy about was something he put on his credit card, and that's where wifey found it. Got a little upset. Johnny M says that's right. Wives just don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, think of the flip side of it, right? Let's say this was some fancy purse. I don't know what your wife's into, but I'm just going to use this as an example. Let's say it was some fancy purse, and you're like, you spent $2,500 on a purse. I mean, we think some of the stuff they would spend money on is crazy too. So it goes both ways.
It's true. It's true. Bargain Boxer says, "Is bench warmers a sport?"
Mm. Yeah, bench
So,
warmer stuff does really well. Those pinup cards that I got, the Gilda or whatever they're called, I can't remember the exact name of it, but
yeah,
I just bought a huge lot of non-sport sets. It had like 40 or 50 sets in it because I was just really trying to pound up my non-sport and I wanted some different stuff. And there were some sets in it that I knew would do really well, but I got this pinup set and I listed those, and I'm like, I don't know if anybody's going to want any of these, but they've done really well. Now some of them have they're drawings, but some of them have exposure, and you have to cover it up when you list it, or you have to list it in the adult section, which I don't want to do. So maybe that influences purchases, but a ton of the cards that I've sold were just simply, pinup art. They weren't nudity or anything like that. So,
right.
Yeah. Does stuff with attractive females sell? If that's the question you're asking, yes, it does.
Yeah, I've got some Hooters cards that just keep moving.
Yeah, like hooker Leia cards. Anytime I find Leia in a bikini, I don't care what it is, I buy it, and it will sell pretty much instantly.
Yep, agreed. Bargain Boxer says, speaking of carpal tunnel,
Yeah,
little overuse injury there.
Yeah, you're gonna put an eye out.
Longball 2.0 says they're starting to make professional face slapping cards.
Oh, I'd buy those. That sounds hilarious.
Oh, sure, you'll buy those, but you won't buy pickleball.
That's correct. It depends. If it's just like a guy standing facing a guy, no. If it's like mid-slap photography, ooh, with the spit coming out, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Bargain Boxer says face slapping is stupid, and I agree. How did they come up with this as a sport? But damn it, every time it comes up on my stream, I sit there and watch it.
I mean, cornhole has a professional, league. I mean, it's there's something for everyone for sure.
Yep, for sure. Oh, Bargain Boxer has got the countdown. 70 days.
Oh, geez. That seems like nothing. That's
Speaking
crazy.
of that, are we set with a hotel yet?
Yeah, we are.
We are?
We are going to, I think I just posted in our little group chat once I finally got it to work today. But I just talked to the housing group today, and they still can't add any more days for us. So
okay.
I think we're just going to bounce out of that. And we got that Hyatt that's like 5 miles down the road.
Okay.
It's
so
a little
no
cheaper.
Just waking up and walking across the skywalk to it or whatever?
Nope. Doesn't sound that way.
I've heard so many stories of how awesome that is. I feel like
it is awesome. Yeah, 1,000%. It's amazing. But if we don't have the space, we don't have the space. I tried to book like the day after they opened housing, so I don't know. It's weird this year how fast, because I've never had a problem getting a room before attached, and I've gone to the Chicago National like 4 or 5 times now. But yeah, that's the struggle we're running into. We got to make sure we got somewhere. Yeah. The advantage is that place is much cheaper. It ends up being like $300. No, it wasn't even that much. Like $250 a piece for the three of us for the entire week. So it's super cheap. It's cheaper than Cleveland.
Yeah.
And we have the like full kitchenette in there, so we have the fridge and all that stuff.
Okay.
And there's a Giordano's around the corner, so we can still get our pizza.
Hopefully we can avoid Ethan getting a concussion when he lays down to go to sleep this year.
Yeah, right. And we had to decide if we want to drive in and just hit. There are a couple of decent sized parking structures across the street, so it's not like it's basically the same length walk that the Skywalk would be.
Yeah.
But you got to get there early enough, to get a spot and all that. And I think I want to say it was like $15 a day or something like that.
That's
parking. Or maybe it was 20.
Oh, now you're just talking crazy. That's too much.
I never had to pay it. So I'm trying to think of what somebody had told me last year. Yeah, I think it was like 15. Yeah, or Ubers or whatever. But I was thinking about it, and yeah, that Skywalk is super nice. I would love to have that again. You just park once and you're done for the week. But I didn't feel like Cleveland was that bad, kind of going back and forth, and that place was sort of a pain in the butt to get in and out of. Like as far as like carrying cards out and stuff like that, it wasn't the end of the world.
Well, that's my only thing. I think we would definitely want the parking structure that's connected if we can get it, because we do tend to buy boxes, and we're going to want to, take them out and secure them in a vehicle or something.
Yep. So that's the hitch in that giddy up. Maybe I'll try one more time. As we get a little bit closer. I mean, I can hold my reservation until they dump it back on the hotel and it's not in the housing group anymore, and see if I can add them, call the actual hotel and add them then, because I did that one year too. So I might just do that. I mean, you only have to cancel 48 hours in advance. So
there you go.
So I'm kind of still holding on hope there, but right now, no, we don't.
Okay.
We don't have enough nights for the connected hotel. So,
all right.
But there's always some people who drop out. The hotel is basically booking on a block, right, for this event. So if you just wait until they transfer the reservation to the hotel and you call the hotel, they just take you out of the block and book regular rooms.
Okay.
Was my past experience. So that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen, but I don't know. We'll see. We got time. If
70 days.
If nothing else, we have the other one secured. We have all the nights, booked and ready to go at a really good price. It's still a Hyatt. They have a pool and all that, which the connected Hyatt doesn't have. So there's a silver lining, I guess, to the other one. It's simply the location is the thing that's just not quite as nice. It's not bad, but it's not quite as nice.
Okay. All right.
But either way, we will be at the National. That's for sure.
Oh boy, you're gonna test my pronunciation here. Prepucio Sanchez.
I like it.
Do either of you use the alternate promoted listings options, such as the promote your store, promote your coupon, or offsite pay-per-click?
I use the promote your store one during the holiday season. During the holiday season, and it was very successful. But it costs a little bit.
How did the fee structure work on that?
You set like a daily budget, and then they just put you out there for so much banner time, based on whatever your budget is.
Okay.
And then the clicks come out of that. So, and I don't remember how much I did. It was probably like $20 or $25 a day, I'm guessing. So it was a decent chunk in the end, but it really helped. I did get definitely it was a peak sales time for me.
Yeah, I
to
think
do that. And I think sometimes you just have to pay for advertising. If you want to get yourself out there, you want people to see your store, they want you to know, you want them to know who you are, you got to spend a little money.
Yeah, I haven't used these. I think the pay-per-click is a little intimidating. Like, who knows what that fee is going to be. I think you can set a maximum though, or something.
You set budgets. You put budgets of how much you want to do, per day or per week or per month. However they allow that.
Yeah.
Kind of like we do for our Facebook advertising for the card show.
Sure. Yeah.
Which by the way is June 8th. It's coming up quick and we're filling up. So if you need a table or information or help getting hotels, let us know because that's almost here.
Just around the corner, right?
Just around the corner. There it is. June 8th at the historic Riverside Ballroom in Green Bay. 70 plus vendors, no admission. It's free admission. We've got kids packs. We've got the Find a Goat games where you can get some free goat bucks to spend at the show. Right. Great food. Their food's always amazing. Very, very cost effective. They have great prices on their food, good portions. For the first time ever, we're going to have live breaks up on stage. Charlie and I will do a live show from there as well. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We got our charity tie-in. We're collecting different personal care items for the school closet program. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Caring closet. So we're going to be donating to charity. We've got that autographed Marcus Allen helmet to give away if you bring an item in. You get a ticket for that, or you can simply buy a ticket, and we'll give the money to the Caring Closet program and get you entered in to win that way.
Yeah.
So
always a good time.
So, yeah, really looking forward to it. That breaking piece, I think that's going to be a fun new piece that we added, and we're always looking for new ideas and new things to do. We have some Goat Show stickers to give away. I think those are going to be really fun. Jenny's been working hard on that.
Yeah.
We have wrestling stickers like the holofoil, vending stickers from the 90s. So those are pretty cool. We got packs. I'm sure we'll have more to give away as it gets closer to the show as well. We kind of keep adding to it. But yeah, we want to see all of you there June 8th if you can make it. But yeah, anyway, as far as advertising goes, we pay to sponsor or promote, whatever you want to call it, the card show, and yeah, we just do a budget. We say we're gonna go from this date to this date, promoting this specific poster event, and we want to spend $100, and Facebook will kind of manage it for you, and try to get you as close to that as possible. They just charge you as it happens. And that's kind of how that's kind of how the eBay store promoted one goes. I haven't done the per click either. Excuse me. I think for what we sell, I wouldn't do per click. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you had something big you were trying to do on your own, a Jordan PSA 10 rookie or something like that, where you want to get more what they call outside advertising. It's where you're not promoting on eBay, but you're promoting to be in other places outside of eBay, then it's worth your money to do that. Because that's kind of what like Golden would do for you and those auction houses if you have them sell your card.
Right.
That's the money that they're spending. Is they have their name, so people come to them naturally, organically, but then they also do exterior website advertising to bring in more bidders. So that's what that would get you. But no, I don't do any of that. I only do the store promotion near the holiday season. And I heard from a lot of you like, hey, I saw your store on the eBay or whatever. So it definitely works. I got some really good sales out of it and lots of attention and helped my business name. I got tons of new followers, which is always good in the store. So yeah, I don't think I would do it like year round or anything. It would get kind of expensive and doesn't seem to make sense at certain times. But if let's say all you sell is basketball cards, well, you might want to do it now where basketball card buying is at its peak, during these playoffs time. So yeah, you'd have to sort of see how it fits your store, but that's what I did. Worked well.
Yeah, by all accounts, their promotions, whichever path you take, tend to truly provide some results from everybody I've ever talked to about it that participates. So the question really comes down to, does your business model make sense for that? Does your budget for your business make sense for that?
Yeah, and you have to remember it costs you money. So does it work
Right.
into your expense budget and
Yeah.
advertising budget? And if you don't have one of those, might be something you want to consider like figuring out first before you just like spend money on promotions or advertising.
Yeah.
Now the item promotion is a little different because they only charge you when an item sells.
Right.
So you don't really have anything coming out of pocket. So as long as your promotion amount still allows you a profit margin, that you can kind of do whenever and keep on your items. But yeah, the store promotion, it's just going to charge you as soon as that banner shows up. So
yeah,
you have to know what you can spend on that or what you want to spend on that. I might do a little more this year. I mean, each year I might do a little bit longer, a little bit more money just to kind of increase my, store exposure as I have more listings.
And there's no right or wrong answer. It's what makes sense for you. Adam and I have in the past spent some time on this show being advocates for promotions on eBay.
Yeah.
And a lot of the folks on here and in our Discord have said, absolutely not. I am not paying eBay another dime. And they're still successful in what they do, right? So it just depends on who you want to be with your business.
I think your pricing strategy plays into that. If you're going to try to be the low man in the selling, well, then you can't really afford to do promotions and things like. So it's just it's sort of your strategy, your business model, how you want your brand to be represented, what you want your brand to be looked at like. And then make sure that the things you're doing fits that business. It's no different really than any other business. Yeah. Successful business. There's a lot of businesses who get that stuff wrong and they don't last very long.
Right. Well, we've got some follow-up on the face slapping cards, I believe. Johnny M says $500 a pack when it came out. $1,500 a case, and he bought multiple.
Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe it was $1,500.
Oh no, I don't think that's a face slapping. That goes.
No, he's talking about the exquisite.
Yeah,
I thought it was $100 a pack. But you could be right because I just remember looking at it and going, "That's crazy." Because I was buying a lot of cards at that time because I knew how good LeBron was. I watched some of his high school games, so like this kid's just different. And when they air a player's high school games, you probably got something there.
Yeah.
Going into the NBA. Anyway, so I was buying, which good because I got a bunch of LeBron rookies that I pulled out of packs all by myself that I still have.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at, they were like, oh, this big new top of the line because SP was around for a few years and that was like the better upper deck product, and then SPX that came out with the die cuts and the hologram, that was a little bit more expensive, a little better premium product, and then exquisite, and I was like, no, I'm not paying that. Which
That's
of course was the wrong decision. Yeah, I should have bought them all, of course, but
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bargain Boxer bought a case too. He said it was $1,700 when he bought it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sparkle Sports Cards is with us from Australia. Good day from Australia, mate.
Yo. Welcome to the show.
Can you say yo with an Australian accent?
Yo, mate.
What?
That was pretty good.
Well, let Sparkle be the judge of that.
I got all my Australian from Crocodile Dundee, so
like every American does.
Outback talk only.
Nice. Lions fans got a question. Do any of you remember your absolute favorite find from a dollar box or under? He found a Merino that he posted in the Discord that he bought for 50 cents and just sold for $15. That was fun. Yeah, that's the thrill, right? Like that happens. I don't want to say it happens all the time, but it happens more often than you would think. Adam, you and I talk about this a lot of times. Like dealers are going through so many cards. It is easy to miss something or not know every card you come across. And you find some gems like that more often than you might think.
I think the biggest thing is missing numbering on cards because sometimes it's kind of hard to see, for like a parallel or something. I think some dealers, if they're buying collections and they're keeping the higher end stuff and they're just putting the 50-cent boxes out, they don't even really care that much and don't go through them. And if they weren't gone through before that and the bigger stuff was pulled out, that's your best odds to find something pretty good. I've found 101 cards before in quarter boxes and dime boxes. I found, action pack 24 karat gold cards. I found numbered Brady cards in 50-cent boxes. Stuff like that. Just you can get it. You definitely can find it. And it's really nice because that really helps pay for a lot of things, and then you can make profit on the other stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of the dream, right? To get one or two cards that hit big, that kind of pay for the whole purchase, and then you take the 50 cents to $1 off of 100 other cards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and we're just talking about sports now. The same exists in the non-sport world too. Like I would say maybe even more so, because it's so expansive a universe that there's no way to know it all. And the print counts too aren't commonly known either. They're typically less than sports cards, though, I believe.
Yeah, this past Nationals, I bought. Do you remember the Monsters Inc. DVD cards that I found?
Yeah.
And the Sully and Mike Wazowski card duo one that I found, I got $120 for that, and I paid 10 cents. Less than 10 cents because it was in the 10-cent boxes, but then I got bulk. So,
right.
And then the other one, I think I got 5 cards out of that. That one sold for that much. Another one got like 70. I got 30, 40, stuff like that out of the other ones. So I probably got I would say at least $300, $350 out of those, just those 5 cards.
Yeah.
For less than a dime a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you I look at it, there's 2 ways to look at this, okay? How you find these, okay? Because people are like, well, how do you know when it's... The one is you know exactly what you're looking at and you know you got a deal and you buy it. The other is, I have no clue what this is, but I've never seen it before, and for a dime I'm gonna buy this damn card because it doesn't look like something I've seen before. Those are the 2 things you have to play, the 2 games you play, and you'll get a couple of home runs on occasion out of. I had no idea what those Monsters and cards would go for, but I'd never seen them before, and I knew they were exclusive to the DVD special edition DVD packaging or something like that. It was what they were from. So I'm like, well, this is easily worth a dime. It's a Disney property. They're popular characters. That's what I played on. And when you're talking 8 cents, who cares, right? That's the nice thing about being on that low end side. Even if I'd only got $1 for them, I still would have came out okay. So you have a lot of room in there to work with. But yeah, the one Brady numbered card that I got, it was numbered out of 25, but the stamp was so small and it was like on the front of the card where there was like a bunch of crowd in the background from them, so you couldn't even really see the silver. I almost missed it.
Yeah.
The only reason I noticed it was it had like a little bit of purplish border, and I'd seen that card 1,000 times, and I'm like, that card doesn't have any purple on it. And it's like, holy crap, it's numbered out of 25.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up getting like $40 or $50 for it. And same thing, it was probably out of a quarter box or 50-cent box. I think it was 50-cent box since it was a Brady. But yeah, it was great because I think I paid. It was a box of all Brady's, and I think I paid like $100 for the box, and I got half of that was selling one card, and I still had like 500 Brady cards left to go.
Yep.
So it's just great. It really helps pay for your inventory, and then all you have to do is just keep selling stuff, and collecting your profit from there.
Yeah, for sure. Sparkle enjoys our Australian accents, I think.
Yo, 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 mate.
Even throws a Crocodile Dundee quote at us. So
Yes, I love it.
Lions fan has his attempt at
Your. Ooh, your.
Sparkle says he'd love to come to the National someday. Yeah, that's quite a trip for you. But having gone to my first one last year, I would say if you are a person that likes to take a big trip every few years, it's definitely one that I think you'd enjoy even if it's a once in a lifetime trip.
Yeah, whatever you want, you can probably find it there. That's the biggest part of it. If you want a specific card for your PC, you got a pretty good shot at it. Unless it's something extremely like a 101 or something. If you just kind of want to experience, the atmosphere of it, or there's, you really want to see PSA or some of the big cards on display. There's always like a Hannes Wagner, or a PSA 10 1952 mantle, or a autographed Babe Ruth bat. There's lots of stuff to see and do and experience. And then if you're a reseller, yeah, it's an absolute gold mine. I mean, I focus on that as my biggest buy in the year, and then I just kind of surround it with other little buys at this point, having as much inventory as I do. And it affords me to get stuff that I just don't get anywhere else.
Right.
In a lot of cases. Some of it is not, it's not what you think it is. Some of it is way overpriced. You got to remember these dealers pay a fortune to be there, and sometimes they price their stuff too high. And, sometimes you can go to 10, 12 different dealers and not find anything of the type of stuff you're looking for because there's such variety. And so you have to really budget your time and, kind of know what you're doing. But yeah, and there's lots of cool promo stuff, and there's VIP, exclusive cards, and then there's always different rips you can be a part of, and there's games to play, and there's just it's a sports card, non-sport card, person's fantasy land.
It's a mecca.
The mecca.
Yeah. And if you go to it when it's in a city like Chicago, you also get a trip to one of the greatest cities in the world, right?
That's true. I still think Chicago is the best place for it. Kind of an international hub. It's got a great airport right there. Food is good. There's lots of attractions. Cost is reasonable, for something like this as far as your stay. Places to go, places to eat, stuff like that. Yep. Versus like a California or something, where the prices get kind of high. So yeah, it's right in the middle of the country. Weather's decent in July. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about the National. I've always had pretty good experiences.
Yeah, and no offense to Dan in Cleveland, where the National was last year, but I don't think there's people in Australia saying we should take a trip to Cleveland someday. But they may be saying, let's go to Chicago.
And the thing is, like, I had a really good time in Cleveland. We didn't have any like major problems there. We found some good meals. We were able to go to the Christmas Story house. That's one of my favorite things I'd ever done in my whole life. Just to be able to experience is something totally different.
Yeah.
The people there were really nice. I mean, the parking was a thing. The whole getting back and forth from the hotel was kind of a thing, and no bathrooms, and but we were prepared. Like, we had our VIPs, so we had places to go. We knew what we were doing. Found plenty of stuff to buy. So it was. I think as long as you knew what you were doing, you had a pretty good experience there.
True story. We almost died like 3 times on the way to the show from Amazon truck, right?
Yeah, it was either Amazon or UPS. I can't remember,
Something
but
like that.
yeah, there was kind of like this like cliffy hillside road that you had to take to kind of get there, and yeah, he just kept coming every day when we were going. He was like flying around the corner. We were getting there. We had to kind of miss him, and yeah, luckily Charlie's a pretty good driver, and we got there without incident. But yeah, it was. We laugh about it now, but it could have been a little bit different than than that.
Had to be nimble.
You had to be nimble. But yeah, just them trying to handle all the cars coming in every day, and then the charging for parking thing was annoying, and like it was just there was definitely parts of it that it's just too big for that place now.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll be back there, but it's going to be in Chicago for the next couple of years. So if you ever wanted to come here, it'd be great to try to see if you can plan it out so you can be here during that time and stay long enough that you can enjoy some of the rest of the city.
Yeah. Sparkle wants to know if we're going to do any 2025 Bowman opening.
No.
Yeah, not the way we did Series 1 for sure.
No.
I mean, we don't really do a lot of breaks together. That was fun doing Series 1. I did enjoy that.
Yep.
I think we'll probably do it again sometime in the future, but it's not like we haven't talked about regularly scheduling anything. It may be one a year for all we know right now, right? So.
Yeah, and I'm honestly just not we talked about this earlier. I'm just not a big pack guy. I just don't like the cost. And then a product like that where you get so many cards. I mean, with Topps, it took me forever to get everything listed. It's not in Card Dealer Pro right away.
Yeah.
So if you want the hot sales, you either got to do like a Whatnot live auction or something and just try to move as much of it as you can. But that's time consuming too. So I don't know. I just don't feel like it. I'd rather go buy out of a value box and buy some of the good cards out of those boxes. Like I just bought those 2 hobby cards. I got the Shohei and the Skeens. The one where it's the Bowman boxes behind them.
Yes, the hobby stars. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I paid $2 a piece for those. Like that, I'd rather spend my money on that than like buying a bunch of boxes and ripping. I know there's a thing in the hobby, and when I was a kid, I was totally this way too. But I know there's this thing in the hobby where it's like, I just got to rip something, and I love ripping card packs and blah blah blah. I always feel terrible after I open stuff because I just feel like I could have done something better with like. I bought this stack of cards yesterday at the shop. Every one of these is a winner. These are all great cards.
Yeah.
That I can easily make, money on it. I bought them because there was margin. And, I open those boxes and I look at all those stacks of cards and I'm like, what am I going to do with all these?
Box.
Yeah. So I get my little itch. Like I opened my Phoenix box today and I enjoyed it. And it's not a lot of cards. So it's pretty easy to list and deal with that way. And it wasn't a ton of money. But then I'm like, yeah, this is why I don't open cards. And then it'll be another 6 months, and then I'll try another box. Or I'll buy something at the National. I really enjoyed those Garbage Pail Kids Clerks cards. I wish I would have bought more of those. I sold a bunch of them, and they sold really, really high. Like I got really good money for them. And I paid $29 for the box.
Yeah.
And they had a stack of them. I'm like, I should have just bought all 10 of them or 20 of them, whatever the heck it was. I probably would have got a couple autos out of it. I probably would have gotten some bigger stuff too.
Yeah.
So there is times where I'm like, I should have bought more boxes. And that might be something I focus a little bit more on in the National this year. I wish I would have bought some of those Star Wars boxes that you bought.
Mm-hmm.
I really like those. And the promo packs seem pretty good with those versus some of the sports ones. So I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to that part of my National experience this year. But yeah, just going to Walmart and buying a box or going to the hobby shop and buying a few hobby boxes, it's just not for me.
Yeah. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people really enjoy just the action of ripping it, and others, would rather just go get the single they want. That's
I
what's
feel
great
like
about hobby. There's so many different ways to do it.
1,000%. And I kind of feel like I get that same rush by going through value boxes.
Sure. Yeah.
But I get to pick and choose the winners out of that. I don't have to
Yeah.
buy all the losers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. So it makes me feel better at the end of the day when I'm done with that. But you go through that 50-cent box and you find that, Brady card numbered out of 50. That's not much different than buying some packs and finding a Brady card numbered out of 50.
Yeah.
Right? Only I didn't have to buy the other cards. I could buy just the Brady card at 50 cents. Like, what a deal,
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I get that. I don't do nearly as many shows as we were doing just because I have enough inventory. Our businesses have matured some that we don't have to be out there quite as much, which is good. But somebody just got kicked out of the CDP Discord. Did you get that notice?
No.
Okay. Anyway, that's funny. We'll have to look into that after. But now I forgot what I was saying. I got so distracted by that. I was like, what? But yeah, I think, pack opening and stuff like that, I think it really comes down to if you enjoy it or not. And to me, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of garbage. You got to organize everything. You got to do all the photographs. And I just don't know that there's enough money in it for me to really want to do it. Now, if you hit something huge, like anything, if you hit the big stuff, then of course it's going to seem more worth it. But the odds, obviously, they know the odds, and that's why they pack them the way they do and print as many as they do. And I don't want to be in on that.
Yeah.
But I agree with Charlie. I like opening Top Series 1 to me for a couple of reasons, though, versus Bowman. It's like kind of the first big baseball product that comes out every year. So there is more drawing attention, and some of those, players, it's their first card, actual rookie cards, not like first Bowman cards. I always think Topps does a good job with like inserts and parallels and stuff like that. And to me, I have a feeling that time of year where I just get excited for baseball, and baseball's coming, and I can open some baseball cards, and so that adds value to it for me versus like Bowman just doesn't hit me that way.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, Keith All is with us. What's up, fellas? I found case hits within quarter boxes. Yep, that's always fun. Absolutely. When you see a set run in a quarter box with the same stuff or product, then one card that you haven't seen shows up and you grab it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you see like parallels you haven't seen before, even if you don't know if they're rare or even what the name of the parallel is, that's usually kind of a spark to just grab it. 90s stuff, if you find any numbered 1990s stuff, they didn't make a lot of numbered cards, so that's usually a pretty good grab, especially if it's lower numbered, obviously.
Yeah.
I like junk autos. I love buying like 50-cent autos and stuff. Doesn't matter who it is. You can always throw them out there at $4 or $5 and you'll get a buyer on them. And just stuff that looks interesting, die cuts and shiny stuff and, gimmicks, clear cards. I love acetate stuff, Dufex foil cards in the 90s. Like, kind of stick to the stuff that, just is cool. And it can make it a lot more fun and you'll get a lot more sales out of it. And again, those are like, to me, I like those because that's your draw to the store. So, I have this Judge Mojo, and a lot of the judges in my store are like Bowman base and Topps base or low end inserts or whatever. But somebody will want this Judge card and they'll go in and buy, 8 or 10 Judge cards to hit my coupon and make it worth it. And so that one card helped me sell 9 more cards. That's I always look at I shouldn't say always, but when I'm buying the little bit more expensive, better cards out of the value boxes, which is why I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on that this year, that's kind of my cross sale into selling some of the stuff that I got for 10 cents a card.
Sure.
versus that stuff's a little bit harder to sell on its own. But someone will throw it in when they're buying. It's kind of like the candy bar, right? So why do they have candy bars at registers? Because when you go to the grocery store, you didn't go to get a candy bar. You went to get bread and milk, $5.29 milk,
Yeah.
and baby formula and all that. And then when you're checking out, you're like, God damn, that Reese's bar looks really good. I had to skip lunch today because I've got this, that, and everything else going on. Throw the Reese's bar in the cart. So they got you in with the milk and the formula, which maybe they don't even make that much money on, but then they got you to buy the candy bar, which, a sale on its own is tough, but it's mostly profit.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of how I'll look at a lot of those types of cards.
Same deal. I just made a couple whatnot purchases of cards that I see as like, okay, this is the grabber, and then my hope is before they leave, they grab some other cards and use my coupon, and now you have a stack, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's and it depends on the player and the team. Like, there's all these other things that are going to matter in that, but like,
yeah.
I know I have Judge stuff. I know I have Otani stuff. I know I have Marino stuff. I know there's plenty in there that I want somebody. I had a buyer yesterday buy 18 Emmett Smith cards, and they were all action-packed cards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a unique sale, right? I love action-packed, but it doesn't necessarily have like a huge following. But one of the cards they bought, and I probably have, do you know what? Are you familiar with the action-packed Down and Dirty cards
I think
from
I've seen a couple of them.
1997?
Yeah.
It's not even an insert. It's not a special card or anything like that. They just say Down and Dirty on the bottom, and it's a subset. Is something that they used to do in the 90s. But I had just listed one a couple days ago. So that card sparked this person basically bought, most likely because it was the newest listing, and it sold in a couple of days. That sale sparked them buying another 20 action-packed Emmett cards. And they bought multiple copies of some cards. So I even sold multiple copies, but I bought that Down and Dirty card, or any of those types of cards. I buy those with the intention of that's going to get somebody to buy other cards. And it does work 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to almost have something a little better than a base card to get somebody in to buy multiple cards.
Right.
So you can't just buy dime cards and fill your store with all cards you bought at a dime. You're probably not going to get anything with color or numbered or insert or case hit. You're not going to mostly get that stuff out of it. So you have to spend up a little bit to have some stuff in there that gets somebody in.
Yeah, I agree with that strategy 100%. That's what I try to build out more often than not with some of my non-box buys, right? Because I get so much of the $1.99 cards. I need to work more to get the $5-6 cards that grab someone to come in, catch the eye, and then they start adding on all these other cards.
Yeah, because the multi-card sale, that's where the real money is in the end.
Yep.
Any single card you sell, you're going to only have so much margin in it. And, unless it was like a super fine, like we were just talking about earlier. But if it's like a normal card out of a 50-cent box that you can sell for $3 or $4, but then you got eBay fees and you got shipping, and you only end up with $1 or $2 out of that card. And there was some work in that, right?
Yeah.
So you really want to get that 7, 8, 9, 10 card, 20, 50, 100 card order, with that card, so that you have all that extra profit, because you don't have much expense once you have one card sale. All the other cards are kind of really low expense because you don't have any shipping. You don't really have to use much more for supplies, stuff like that. Your eBay financial fee is just going to be the 30 cents or the 40 cents if it's over $10. versus 30 cents per card that you sold, that kind of thing. So it makes a huge difference. So try to get stuff that you can use to cross sell other items in your store.
I just noticed that I've got a typo on a card that was supposed to be a $2.25 card that I listed for $2.25. $225. No wonder it hasn't sold yet.
Send out offers. Send out offers at $2.20.
Right?
Yeah.
Dan's still with us. He says, "Trust me, no offense taken when I talked about nobody's planning a trip, international trip to Cleveland. He says it should have been hosted at the Huntington Convention Center downtown. Would have been a nicer venue, but a bit small to host it." And to your point, you feel that even where they held it is getting too small.
Yeah, it is, and that was booked a long time ago before some of the boom and stuff like that. So to be fair to them, it is what it is. They were under contract, but I had a great time. It was really cool meeting up with Dan. We got to spend quite a bit of time with him, and he took us to a fun restaurant. That's kind of a local hotspot, and we had a good time with that. And we had Bob Evans next to our hotel. Like, I was in dreamland for that one. Yeah, I have no real negative thoughts about Cleveland. It is kind of a crappy drive. Like, it was just toll town, man. We must have spent $50 in tolls to get there. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was quite a bit.
Yeah, and that was even with some of them going through an iPass through our area. And then also just the time. It was a 7-hour drive or whatever it was. So that made it a little bit tougher. But that's not Cleveland's fault. That's where we are. I mean,
right.
That's what it took for us to get there. But I'm really hoping they maintain it in the Midwest as much as possible, because it just makes the most sense for us, obviously. So we're kind of spoiled that way. I mean, Chicago's like a 3-hour drive, 3.5-hour drive. So we really can't do any better than what we're doing with Chicago being a spot.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Looks like I'm trying to decipher what Sparkle said here. I think he's trying to give us a compliment and say our Series 1 break was great.
Series 0. Yeah, I had a good time. I had a good time with it. It was a lot to set up and get going, and it took us a long time to rip all that. Tops of, it was a good chunk of cards. We had a bunch of different boxes that we bought. I don't know if I would go that big next year. I'd probably just do a box or two.
Yeah.
I'm glad I skipped the jumbo. I didn't really see the value in it too much, unless you again, you hit something big, which you can say that about any box. You can say that about any pack. I really liked that retail display box. I thought that was a really fun one.
Yeah.
And so I'd probably go with that, and then I'd maybe go with hobby, just to have get some hobby out of it. Because the hobby wasn't too bad. Was that like 110 or something?
I think so, yeah.
I thought that was a pretty fair price for a hobby box of something. And that was
jumbo.
Yeah, the regular. And that was an auto or a mem, right? You got one or the other, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
So, at least you were going to get like a hit. So that's probably what I would do next time. So I'd probably stick to that like $170, $180 budget, and I do like the $65, $70 retail box, and then the hobby, whatever the hobby is,
right,
ends up being on the other side. And I think that's a better spend. And it wouldn't be quite as many cards to have to get to either.
Yeah.
I still have stuff from those 2025 Topps boxes I haven't listed.
So do I.
So.
Sparkle says he opened 2 2025 Bowman baseball value boxes last night. Similar to me, I did 4 of them in total. Pulled 1 numbered card from a box and 1 auto from the second, and I saw similar results.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For blasters.
Yep. The other thing that's hard for me with opening Bowman is I don't follow like who's in the minors and what are the drafts and all that. So I'd be opening all these packs and be like, I don't know who this is. I don't know what's good and what it's. So now I'd have to learn. I have to go back and look them all up. And not that I'm against that. I just, again, that feels like a lot of extra time and a lot of investment for maybe not much, unless you hold on to them and get to hit that breakout player, probably not that much return.
Right. Right. Just a couple more chats here, and I think we're probably going to look at wrapping it up.
Yep.
Boomslang says, I've been a collector all my life, and like you said, the prices have kept going up every year. And it's like I've been priced out of being a collector. But now since I opened my eBay store, I'm really feeling like my collection days are behind me, and now I'm a flipper. Oops, I said a dirty word.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And again, I think almost all of us are both, because you're right. You pretty much can't afford the hobby. Most of us can't.
Yeah.
The average person, I'll put it that way. That's probably the fairest way to put it. The average income lifestyle person can't probably buy a $600 box every month.
Right.
So you need to sell some stuff to be able to afford to get things that you actually want to have in your collection. $600 to just have fun opening a box is not that realistic to do on a regular basis. So I think flipping is probably what most of us have been doing since we were 10 years old. We just didn't call it that. I would buy packs and boxes when I was a kid and then go to a card show. And I was trading for Favre cards. Oh, you got this Emmitt Smith insert card. I collect Emmitt. Great. You got this nice Favre card. There was a lot more trading and things going on then. There wasn't as open a cash market as there is now with electronic digital payments and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's what you have to be. Figure out what your PC is or what a box is that you like to open each year. We were just talking about we like tops. So, we put a couple $100 aside to open some tops each year. I put $50 to $100 every few months. I'll buy a mega or something like that. Just to have something to rip or a product I really like. Sometimes I like doing it just so I have some new cards to list, like brand new stuff, because that gets different types of buyers in too.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes I do it just to get those new eyes on my store, eyes returning to my store, and then they buy other stuff. So I think you do that, and then you just kind of pull some stuff out that you like once in a while, or use a little bit of your profits to buy, hey, I've always wanted this card, or I really like this card. I really like the GOAT Patrick Mahomes card. I'm going to take $50 out of my money I made from flipping this month, and I'm going to buy that card, and that one goes on my shelf. That kind of thing. I think that just makes more sense.
Yeah, talking about grabbing some retail product, I kind of take that same approach in that I grab some things because I like to have just a little bit of the hot new product, right? Excuse me. So, I'm not looking to have a full set of stuff out there, but I want, if Phoenix just came out, I want to at least have a few options for Phoenix out there. So they come in and they see my Phoenix listings, and then maybe they don't get what they want from Phoenix, but then they start looking at everything else.
Right. It's just, it's eyes in the door kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like doorbuster deals on Black Friday, right? You put $10 toasters out there. You're not making anything on a $10 toaster, but they came in your door. So now they're going to buy the sheet set and the pajamas for the kids and the DVD player that your sister wanted. You're there. You're going to kind of make some purchases and then get your $10 toaster. It's that same sort of mentality, and you know what? If you are doing it once in a while, you should have something in a box at some point. Where you've had enough small losing propositions over the last 4 or 5 openings you had, but hey, this one you made $50 on the box. Great. So I'd be very happy if I opened something and I broke even. I'd be satisfied with that because, again, I feel like it will get me some sales outside of that material that I bought, which I would get profit on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The other thing I wanted to comment on is Boomslang talking about being priced out of the hobby. I feel the same way. In fact, I will tell you, I feel like I've always been, kind of priced out of the hobby from the beginning. But what
it's not a cheap hobby.
Yeah, everybody kind of finds their own way to participate, and for me, I find myself the last couple years, I will latch on to like an insert set, which has a shorter card checklist. So a couple years ago, I did Topps Chrome Heart of the City, and I keep those on display in my room here. Last year, I did Superstar Blueprints, and I made a nice plaque to display that. This year, I'm talking about maybe doing that Bowman Hobby Stars. So I think that's a way you can still do some nice collecting, but avoid pricing yourself out.
Yeah, and I think those cards are cooler anyway. They're affordable. You're generally in sets or insert sets, subsets, whatever you want to call them. Generally, you're getting the better players. They're not going to put some generic third baseman in there, right? I mean, you're going to get, if you're talking baseball, you're going to get Mookie Betts and Ohtani and Judge and Skeens and that kind of thing. So it's a better set to kind of represent the stars of the day, and you should hold value in those cards because they are cool. They got you to get to them, so they're going to catch someone else's eye. They're all kind of key players at the time, and so there should always be, it shouldn't be something where, well, yeah, it's in my PC, and it's not worth anything now. That shouldn't not be the case most of the time.
Yeah.
Which would make you feel better about it too, because if you get tired of it or there's a different set you want to go after or whatever, just sell them.
Right.
And then you can use that money then to pursue something else that you want. Selling is a key. It was never, a hobby like this was never meant to be, you just keep hoarding and hoarding and hoarding. I've seen stories of these people who have like 10 million cards and they just have all these 5-row boxes stacked up in storage units. And why the hell would you want that? Like, I don't get that. I don't have a hoarder's mentality. I say that as I have like 80,000 cards in this room right here, but they're all for sale. Well, most of them are for sale because that's how I generate, an income. But yeah, quantity for the sake of quantity is probably not if that's the type of personality you are, you should never get into cards because there's trillions of cards that have been printed. There's no way you're ever going to find an end game to it.
Right.
And think about somebody who has 10 million cards in a storage unit, right? What the hell are they going to do with those? And what is their family going to do with them one day? And, most of it's going to have to get sold off so cheap because somebody's going to have to go through it and doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, you're paying for storage and you should be insuring them and, paying for temperature controlled environment. Like there's all this stuff, boxes, sleeves, top loads, keep stuff in. Like it's just overwhelming when you get to those kinds of numbers.
Yep. Well, all right. I think we gotta wrap it up here. It's 10:55 Central. We've been at it a little, almost 3 hours now. I know I've got a few cards to pack and get ready to ship yet tonight, and I gotta be back in the office in the morning. And you get up pretty early to start your day as well.
4 o'clock. Yeah. I got some Phoenix I want to finish up and some stuff I just bought at the shop. I finally finished all my Sports Illustrated for Kids cards. All got skewed.
Okay.
And then I skewed about a row and a half of the basketball. So I'm in the very last drawer of stuff that needs to be skewed. I got a half a row of basketball and 2 rows of soccer to do in that drawer. So
Okay.
I'm going to
Nice.
try to finish that this week. Here is, oh no, never mind. That's it. That's all I had to say.
And your battery's got to be close to dying.
No, it's plugged in. I switched out for a while ago. And I got a turbocharger in, so it's probably almost full actually now.
Well,
That thing is amazing. Yeah. So no, I'm good, but I'm ready to go to bed anyway.
Yeah.
My battery is dying. My personal battery.
Yeah. So I do see a couple comments I just want to acknowledge here real quick. Sparkle, I'll see what I can do for you. I know I have at least one pickups video out there where I have some Star Wars cards that you'll be able to find on my channel, JC3 Cards and Collectibles on YouTube. Adam, of course, is the Dollar Box on YouTube as well. So I guess the only thing I got left to say is, remember, when you see the goat, we're talking about some of the greatest of all time.
Remember, every Wednesday, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, we do this live show. Join us again next week. Join the Discord. It's coming along the bottom there right now, the invite code. It's free to join. We got a lot of great conversation on there. Lots of sharing, lots of great ideas. And,
lots of sharing and caring.
And of course, all caring. But it's a great community. We have a good time. Everybody treats each other well, and I'm always happy to be on there when I can in the day to try to contribute or ask questions or whatever we can do on our end. Other than that, remember, you can't sell what you don't list. We'll see you next week.